Welcome, everyone. This is our Vision Whitefish 2045 meeting. It's August 20th, and we're just now past 6 o'clock, so we're going to begin. Call this meeting to order and begin with, actually, we're going to make a couple of agenda changes before we do general public comment. The first one is that we're going to move the hazard section to next week to August 27th, if that's agreeable with everyone involved. You guys okay with that?
I'm free.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or,
Yes.
okay,
But yeah, I should be good with it.
okay,
Yeah, as long as it's at 6 o'clock. I
yeah,
got work.
we can do 6. Okay, real word, not this fake stuff. Does
Stop your bad.
No, I can't retire.
that work for you guys? Yes.
6 o'clock on the 27th.
Yes, Wednesday, August 27th. So anybody who's here from the public for hazards specifically, I'm sorry about that, but we are postponing it, still within the month though. And the next thing is, on the agenda, we are not going to have a staff presentation tonight for this economic development section. You guys have probably heard it a few times. We've revisited this multiple times a year now, so we're going to get straight into public comment and then discussion of this draft chapter. So we'll start tonight with our general public comment. If anybody's here for something general that's not the economic development element, then you can stand up, state your name, and let us know what you'd like to say. Anybody? All right. So then, the economic development section, we're here to revisit on the direction of council. They encouraged us to go back to the adopted chapter, have more public comment on that, and then also to look through with an eye to the things that were omitted from the staff draft to the adopted draft. So that's what we'll be doing, taking public comment and then having discussion and adopting a draft. All right. So public discussion on this element, feel free to stand up, let us know who you are and your thoughts. And I want to remind everyone, we have the rules of civil dialogue for a reason. We're all neighbors here. Everybody's here for the betterment of Whitefish. So if it appears that this gets uncivil, then I'll just ask you to take a seat. And then if we have time for you to revisit, then you can do that. But some of the public comments online have, named specific names and had some personal attacking happening. So we do not want to do that here tonight. So keep it civil and keep it about an issue of this draft that you would like to see. Okay, go ahead. Yes, Marty, go ahead.
So, we will this will have to leave pretty shortly. My tutorial is being watched by grandparents these last couple weeks. So, but yeah, here to comment on the economic element because we're discussing that growth policy that's for 2045. I hope that everyone has taken a moment to consider looking in 20 years. I'll be 59, which at this exact moment feels to be unfathomable, but that's where it'll be. And the choices we make here in part determine whether or not my kids will be able to afford to live here, and whether or not they'll want to live here. Change comes regardless. And over the course of the summer, I watched 2 popular lunch restaurants close. 2 of my friends moved away. So, I work downtown, I walk Central Ave pretty regularly, and sometimes I like to imagine something better, which is not to say that what we have is terrible, but I have some thoughts on that. What if some of those empty shops that we have downtown right now, there's about 3 or 4 of them, depending on whether or not you want to consider the pottery shop 2 or 2 spaces or 1. What if we put some pop-up shops in there? That would certainly look better than those empty storefronts and that pottery shop one has been there forever. What if we added more eclectic businesses, more variety? I think limitations on the business types, while it feels a little restrictive, could encourage this. I work downtown, so I walk downtown a lot. I see a lot of spas, a lot of art galleries. What if downtown, a nice quaint general store, or some other practical offerings? Businesses really enjoy year-round traffic. We do have some practical shops downtown. It means people come, get their practical things and they stroll around and they buy some other stuff. It's pretty nice for us. It's worth noting too that like Shopco that we had, I know that's wasn't a downtown store, but it closed nationwide. It didn't close due to lack of local support. What if like instead of driving downtown for a cup of coffee, some of these more remote neighborhoods, like I live on the Armory, their own little coffee shop and bakery, a third space where we could mingle and develop our community a bit more. And what if some zoning changes made it easier for locals to either hold on to their commercial real estate or for maybe locals to buy some of our commercial real estate? I think we've all noticed that some of these buildings sell and then out of state people buy them and put their own businesses in there. And those businesses, I hate to dog on them, but they don't really seem invested in our community. They don't hear from multiple people. They don't donate to our fundraisers. So maybe we could have some zoning changes that made it so that these locals who own commercial real estate felt like they could change their space to invite, to make it more lucrative for them and they could hold on to it. And I know that based on articles in the pilot, Sage and Cedar and Sprouts are both facing this dilemma that that's for sale. And I would hate to see those shops close because of that. Many of these future visions have been omitted in the revisions that have been submitted. And Alan has helpfully created a table that shows that you can have some of these things without going crazy and inviting in all the big box stores. Like there's a lot of changes we can still make, even by including some of these things that would prevent our worst outcomes that we're all very scared about. So yeah, I just encourage everybody here to think about Vision 2045 and what we want our town to look like. So that's all.
Thank you, Marty. So that was about 4 minutes. I was gonna say 3 minutes, but we don't have so many people here, so we'll do 6, so I can turn the timer over twice. So just so you know, that was about 4 minutes. That was perfect, Marty. Thank you. You're good. I forgot to say that before we started. All right, anybody else? Somebody else? Any other comments?
I'll go.
All right.
I'm Egan Stephen-Aller. I'm policy director with Shelter WF, so I'll be seeing a lot more involved over the rest of this growth policy process. I'll refer you to our written comments where we kind of go through line by line, kind of why we think the changes made don't really serve the community as a whole. But I just wanted to focus really particularly on the recommendation section because that's the stuff that, besides the narrative, has kind of the most weight moving forward. So just to clarify, and all of you know this, but the items that were removed include reviewing zoning to diversify business locations, encourage necessary local screwing goods and services near population centers, allowing small scale like commercial and mixed use, and then supporting lower cost enterprise that cater to locals such as food trucks, farm stops, and pop-up shops, and then studying the feasibility of paid parking.
I'm sorry, I'm not tracking. When you say the recommendations section, what are you referring to?
I'm referring to the basically to the back half of the document where it describes
We've got a lot of documents.
The goals and objectives.
the goals and objectives. Yeah, I guess that's a better word than
Okay.
recommendations. You know what I'm referring to? That one. So it's where it's whether it's like A, B, C, D, E. Where's the back?
You're starting on page 15.
Yeah, so the red lined ones refer
Okay.
to zoning, the food trucks, pop-up shops, or basically it's called business options that cater to locals for lower costs. And then there's also one in there about studying feasibility of paid parking. So I think those in particular, not only do the shelter WF disagree with, and I disagree with, because I think those goals are really useful. But I just want to point out that in the broader context of the growth policy, if we don't roll back those edits, then this section is going to feel pretty unintelligible in relation to the transportation and the land use elements of the growth policy that are coming down the pike later on. Not only because the draft of the transportation and other elements of the growth policy are going to talk pretty openly about the potential for parking reform, for transit, which is removed in one of the line items here, but also because SB 382 requires that zoning reform will have to take place, and that zoning reform is centered around light commercial and residential districts, around increasing density and things like that. So I think not only evaluating this draft on its own, but in the context of larger growth policy, to me indicates that these recommendations are going to be very useful in building kind of an intelligible growth policy as a whole. So yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else wish to comment?
Excuse me. I did not, I came in a few minutes late, so I'm not sure that there was a recommendation that you were going to go line by line through this document. Did you decide just to take general public comment or?
So we're taking general public comment now, and then we'll have board discussion after. We don't have a specific recommendation. It was talked about in public comment at one of the city council meetings to go line by line, but we've been directed both by council and by mayor to revisit. So it's not a specific directive to go line by line through this document, even though we have as a board multiple times now gone through it. Yeah. So tonight we're going to take public comment and then discuss the draft that's been adopted.
Okay, so Mary Flowers Citizens for a Better Environment. And we have previously submitted comments in support of the edits that were proposed by part of Whitefish. And I think it's important to recognize that, and I know there was reference to 14 people spoke here and 3 organizations spoke here. Those issues become problematic because an organization like ourselves comes to these meetings and represents lots of residents. And so this isn't a numbers game. This is what really makes sense to the future of our community. So I just want to bring us back to that focus. I appreciate Marty's comments. I didn't get the gentleman's name and just spoke. All right. It would have been helpful, I think, to see kind of what specific line item we felt was not appropriate. Again, I think I think you have been directed and you need to make a decision tonight, and we would recommend that you stay with this section. But leave yourself the possibility after you go through the housing section or some of the other sections to come back and is this consistent? I have a lot of respect for the years of experience that is represented within the heart of Whitefish and the economic work they've done. I've sat on the Highway Corridor Committee. I've attended a lot of the Wisconsin Avenue meetings, and the problem with some of that data is that it was problematic, and I think you were dealing with some economic data here that needed to be cleaned up. So we would strongly encourage you to retain this, and if there's still some hesitation, provide yourself the opportunity to come back and look at the consistency between the policies.
Thank you, Mary. And I will add quickly, this is one part, and then we'll revisit all of this again. And we get constant reminders about that, we're wrapping up this element, but it will come back through us again at the end, and then also to city council. So yeah, we'll have sort of two more chances to do it in its totality later. So thank you for that reminder. All right. Anybody else? Rhonda?
I'd just like to say that the version that you adopted does not preclude any of the things, for instance, that Marty was talking about downtown. There's nothing that makes it not possible to have a problem. And we do have the food truck court. And none of the edits and cleanup that you adopted would preclude any of that. As far as the paid parking goes, that's a whole nother topic. And you're supposed to be at the 10,000 foot level, and that's in the weeds. And there is a lot of argument around that should happen somewhere else besides at this point. And so I would appreciate it if you guys would just stick with the focus and give us a good document that we can live with for 20 years and not regret. Because we don't have so any landmine layered into this document will come back on us. Thanks.
I just interject here. Keep in mind, and just Marty, if you don't know, council has already directed us to, or we've already directed that we're gonna study the possibility of paid parking downtown. So we're gonna do that. I'm not sure that element in and of itself is part of a growth policy, given the schedule, but it's certainly a detail that we are looking at and will continue to look at. I'm not sure where to go, but we are gonna study.
Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you, Frank. All right, next. Anybody else have thoughts on this? Go ahead.
Yeah, Nathan Dugan, president of Shelter WF. I submitted our comments, I don't know, 2 weeks ago or something, so I hope that you had time to go through all of those. There's a lot more description in there, but if I was to summarize it, I think a lot of the edits can be problematic because they effectively attempt to change history or attempt to obscure like the problems that we have in Whitefish, particularly when it comes around to housing and the affordability of housing. And so take that as you may. I think that some of the things that were struck and some of the changes that were made should be reverted. That's in my letter that I sent. I'm not going to go through all of that. When we get to the goals and objectives piece, I think that we shouldn't artificially limit what might be possible in the future. And sure, what Rhonda said is true, I guess, like these things could still happen if they're not in the growth policy. If that's true, I would question why Heart of Whitefish wanted those things removed. And I think because if it's not written down in that document, it's something perhaps we don't think about 20 years in the future. And so like, I can't predict the future, none of us can predict the future. We don't know what tools might be helpful to have in a roadmap that we're thinking about here in advance. And so I think erring on the side of leaving more tools in the toolbox could be helpful in the future versus leaving that stuff out and then it not being thought about.
Thank you, Nathan. Any other comments from the public before we discuss?
Just one thing that I was noticed was a lot of from the sessions, it sounded like a lot of people wanted a little bit of engagement and also that you could get something in your local community without having to come downtown into the craziness. We need better transportation might make it nicer downtown to get in, or public transportation, but it kind of seemed like this was pulling that option out for higher density housing to have some sort of local shops or local gathering spots, so people don't feel like they have to come downtown every day to get their coffee or to get their little things that they're wanting. So that was just an interesting that it seemed like it was kind of pulling that option out and making, like you're saying, in the next future, not that comfortability, but maybe I was reading that wrong.
All right, thank you. Yvonne, is that what you said? Okay, thank you. Anybody else? All right, do we have anybody online at all?
Anyone online want to comment, please raise your hand. All right, Kirsten, hang on, let me see if I can unmute your mic. All right, looks like your mic should be working.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. My name is Kirsten. I'm here to also discuss the growth policy edits. Obviously, these processes are really important to make sure that the future of the community looks like the inclusive, economically viable place that we all want to live. So when I read through the draft policy, I also agree that many of the edits seem to remove some of the community input that was put in, particularly like line by line about the perspective that locals offered and also the challenges that they're facing. And so I would just urge the board to make sure that that perspective is still accurately reflected throughout the document so that that sentiment and the many dynamics that have been building in the valley for, you know, many years now are reflected in the growth policy and the considerations. I want my friends and community members to be able to find stable year-round jobs in Whitefish and for business development to encompass a thriving tourism industry as well as other local focused industries, and think that that's obviously really important to underscore for a growth policy like this, and would just echo previous comments around giving us the widest ability to have as many tools in our toolbox as we can as we go forward to plan for the growth of the community. So super appreciate everybody's time tonight, and thank you.
Thank you, Kirsten.
Anyone else online wish to speak, please raise your hand. Not seeing anyone else, the hand raised, so there's several people on there.
Spectators, that's nice. Okay. So that will close our public comment for this economic development section. And now we'll move on to board discussion of the draft chapter. We have met with Alan a couple times and decided that going forward, we'll have the goals and objectives at the beginning of each element, just for ease of reading and kind of a roadmap as to where we're going. So we're actually going to start tonight by talking about the goals and objectives first, and then we'll move into the body. Hopefully that helps everyone. It's sure going to help us. So thank you, Alan, for getting us the transportation in that manner next month. So if everyone probably has a draft of this,
Share.
yeah, if you can share it. And I guess, before we start with that, I want to quickly touch on this page 9 that I talked to you about earlier. Just to kind of clarify that there is one section here that has some discrepancy that's not in red. So that is on page 9 of the most current output of the draft that we adopted. And it's under, I just want to start with this and preface so that it doesn't come up later and cause confusion. So under commercial areas in Whitefish, the draft that,
Yeah,
sorry,
interject a bit.
go ahead.
I'm following what we adopted,
Mhm.
which
So-
is, the Heart of Whitefish suggested edits, May 21, 2025. So
So,
if there's something more recent,
yeah,
uh,
the one that I printed this morning,
I think we can just refer to the sections.
yeah,
there's-
so it's commercial areas in Whitefish. Let me get a page number.
Page 9 of the draft that went out. Packet.
Yeah. I have both here so that I can go back and forth between them.
Okay,
That's page
that's
12.
page 12 on
Yeah.
the one we adopted.
Mhm.
Okay.
On the screen, what the original version that you are referring to is on the screen.
Okay,
And actually, after I talk, I can explain better what the
Yeah.
situation is.
do you want to do that?
Sure.
Okay,
Okay, so.
That would be
it's really
helpful.
confusing. I'll do the best, but after talking to Whitney, I figured out what the situation is here. So we got a copy of edits from Heart of Whitefish, and the original edits were done on a PDF. They were kind of typed onto a PDF. So when you convert a PDF to a Word document to Mr. Edit and edits, it doesn't red mark like you do in Word. So I had to literally go through Word and paste everything in and then make it red marked, okay? When I was doing that, I got to this part here that says commercial areas in Whitefish. If you look at this version here on the board, what this is saying, the way that it's written, the way that it was corrected by Heart of Whitefish, is it's saying that there's four commercial areas in Whitefish, okay? The first is the downtown core, okay? That's what this says. The second is Wisconsin, north of the railroad tracks. The third, and this is the one who has the issue, the third area is for residences, professional offices, and lodging establishments north of the Whitefish River to Fourth. So it's just out, so this is saying from Fourth to the river. And then the last one that it says here is Highway US 93 South. Okay, so that's what this is saying. The version that actually went out, so this was correcting it, the version that went out is actually saying the four parts of Whitefish are the downtown core, which if you look at the downtown plan, includes the area that was edited in here. It includes to the Whitefish River. That's the downtown, in the downtown plan. That's area 1. Area 2 would be Wisconsin, so this matches. Area 3 is actually from the Whitefish River west to the city limits. And then area 4 would be south, south 93 south. So what I'm saying is, based on this, there would have to be 5. This completely misses from the Whitefish River west to the city limits. It's not even discussed here, but that is area 3. So there's actually 4 areas. This is breaking out that one little stretch of street as a separate area, and it's missing all of south or all of west 93. Does that make sense?
Is that currently zoned commercial now?
Yeah,
West-
well, it's a mix.
It's a mixture.
It's a mix.
Because it's along an arterial, you can get a conditional use permit for professional offices, personal services. And there's an existing gas station is grandfathered in.
Right, which is noticed.
Most of the zoning is residential, but it's what we call like light commercial, which allows for offices and things like that.
What I'm saying is that if you adopt this, when I went through and made the changes, I looked at this and said, that's not really what it was saying, that geography is not right, so I didn't carry that over. If you go with this language here, wait, where is it? It's a different one, hold on, let me put it up. If you go with this language here, you actually have to add a 5th commercial area. You would have to also mention west of the Whitefish River. What this is saying is that the area from north of the Whitefish River to east of Fourth is its own separate commercial area. And the version that I sent out is saying that's part of the downtown. That's the difference. But if you go with this, you need to add another commercial area or you're completely missing West 93.
So. You're. So what I'm trying to understand, is we have the document we're looking at, which was published in the packet. It describes the 3 commercial areas or the 4 commercial areas as you just referenced.
Correct. But it's not exactly the version, the original version
Correct.
had it described differently, and I didn't carry that over because I didn't understand. I believe that was an error, but if we want to add another commercial area, we have to.
But the 3 that you've described either conflate 1 or 2 of those. So the downtown commercial. I mean, so I don't care whether we have 3 or 5. I just want to make sure we have them all covered.
That's it, basically, that's basically it. We either go with I'm gonna say my version just because that's the version that you got. The red mark version was a version with this part corrected. We're gonna use that word, okay?
Okay,
This part corrected means that that section of 93, north of the Whitefish River Fourth is part of the downtown core. It follows, and if you look at the downtown plan, that's where it is, okay?
north of the Whitefish River.
From Sixth, basically from Sixth to Fourth. This, the language, the language that, oh, sorry. The area that you, the one that you got, the version that you got says there's 4 commercial areas. The downtown area, as it follows the boundaries of the downtown map, the downtown plan, Wisconsin, west of the Whitefish River out to the city limits, all along, golf course and all that area, and then 94 south. 4 commercial areas. That's what you got, right? There was the earlier version that was submitted by Heart of Whitefish that I had to transcribe over and paste all that in. There was one area of conflict in there I didn't carry over. Okay, it wasn't done intentionally to be sneaky. It's just because I didn't think it lined up. And what that version said is that from 6th to 4th is its own commercial area, and then it completely misses west of west of the Whitefish River. So if we were to use the language that she's referring to, and the first version that I carried over, then there's a whole commercial area that's missing, and we have to add a 5th commercial area. So it doesn't matter if you go with the language that I have, it's either 3 or 5. What she had is missing a commercial area, so we either have to make it 5, or we go with what I gave you here, and it's describing 4. The question is, here's the question, is from 6th Avenue to 4th its own commercial area? That's the question. Do you believe that it's its own distinctive commercial area, or is that part of the downtown? If that is part of the downtown, because that's what the downtown plan says it is, then go with the version that I gave you. If you believe that it's its own distinctive commercial area, then that's the version that Heart of Whitefish gave you, but you have to now add west of 93. Does that make sense? Is that confusing enough or not?
It is confusing.
It's confusing, but I'm the one that had to figure this out.
No, I get it.
And it's either, it's just, it comes down to is 6th to 4th its own commercial area? That's the question.
Okay, that again, now I'm gonna ask a silly question, was that distinction brought up or recognized when this thing was being put together? I mean,
No, because the version that you saw was the original version, and when we had the meeting, I didn't know what the board was or wasn't going to approve.
okay,
You just got a version given to you from Heart of Whitefish, right? Once you approved it, then I had to go through and try to put everything into a document that showed what was added and what was original. And when I did that, that's the version that you're seeing now, but I didn't, because I believed there was an error in the way it was describing the commercial areas, I didn't do that part. I just kept it as 4 areas.
okay,
It's just one person is describing a couple of blocks as its own little distinctive commercial area, and it's missing all the rest of 93. In fact, the original version crosses out the gas station that I mentioned on 93, because I think the author was not understanding the area that I was describing. Because if you looked at the original versions, it made a comment saying that's not where the gas station is, but yeah, it is. Where I described it is where the gas station is, west of the river. That's confusing enough?
right.
The bottom line, none of it really matters that much. It doesn't change anything. It depends on.
I want to quickly say, I don't want to reopen public comment, but because this is an odd contentious thing of what was the intent of someone and then what was the intent, like, are we deciding now downtown area sections? I'm unclear of that, but I do want to hear, Rhonda, what your intent was and where this misunderstanding happened from. Yeah, so if you can clarify.
It's correct, it's confusing, because the original document that you had, that we provided suggested edits to, read, the 3rd commercial area contains a gas station, professional offices, and 2 lodging establishments along the US 93 corridor north of the Whitefish River Bridge on US 93 to the downtown core of East 4th Street. That's what it said. And we said, well, that's not right. First of all, the gas station is south of the river. Second of all, there are 3 lodging establishments. And it's called Spokane Avenue, not US 93. We suggested those edits to the document that was generated by the planning department. Just corrections. We don't necessarily think it's a commercial area. We know it's part of it is zoned WR4. It's residential and part of it is B2. We were just correcting that there's no gas station there and there are 3 hotels and they're, it's called Spokane Ave. That's all we did. Now, there was no mention of Wisconsin Avenue in your original document. Now, the version you have today changes it. And the 3rd commercial area contains a gas station, residences, professional offices, and 3 lodging establishments along East 2nd Street, US 93 west of the Whitefish River to the western city limits. But the problem with that is there are no lodging establishments in that corridor, so that's not right either. So you've got 4
Actually,
corridors.
Are we not counting the Snow Ghost bed and breakfast?
Well, it's never operated as a bed and breakfast. Actually, there's probably one, maybe 1 lodging establishment.
What about Grouse Mountain Lodge?
Rouse 1, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying,
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm just trying to.
we only added like 3 word changes. We didn't create a zone. That was in your document.
Right, okay, I got it. So,
Let me see, I've got a copy of the original PDF.
It should say west, not east, anything.
Yeah, I think that
You can pull this up.
the issue came from 93 not being labeled anything. It just said 93 corridor. And then we're assuming Whitefish River and 93. So that's where it got kind of mixed up, but these are the type of things that we have to figure out.
So, excuse me,
Go
it
ahead,
can also
Toby.
be confusing in the fact that the river divides east and west.
So the original version does describe Wisconsin. There's the original red marks that I was thinking, all right, Whitefish, or wait. Let me share this one. At the end of the day, it's all gonna be kind of the same thing. Okay, so this is the original version I got from Heart of Whitefish, okay? These are the comments I got. The first is the downtown core, which contains the majority of the tourism site. Okay, there's the first part. And that also contains the highest density jobs. The second is the neighborhood oriented businesses, restaurants, and professional offices located on Lawson, Wisconsin. So it was mentioned. There's the second one, Wisconsin. The third commercial area contains a gas station with residences, professional offices, 2 lodging establishments along the US corridor north of the Whitefish River on Spokane on US 93 to the downtown core, east 4th. The 4th and largest commercial area is along US 93 south.
Right.
That is confusing.
all right,
Yeah.
But my recommendation, unless anybody has an issue, I believe that the version I gave you now is correct. It would make it less confusing.
and that's,
So we could go back and forth, but I recommend going with the red mark that you have now, because this is kind of confusing.
yeah,
Change East Second Street to Spokane Avenue. I solve it.
Correct. It's a lot easier, but yeah, that's up to you. I would recommend let's go with what I gave you.
I'm good with that. That was my next question, is okay. We now know what happened. Does this make sense? My sense is it does. That's,
Yeah. So in finding this difference, I just wanted to have you describe what's happening and then also to say that we're gonna move forward with this document. When we as a board looked again at the new one that's come out, we assumed that everything in black was transferred directly. And so some of it has been, at least this one section has been edited. So we're gonna assume that everything is as it was in the version that we adopted.
That's the only part that's different.
So, yeah, we'll move forward with that now that that is taken care of. And, does anybody have any further questions? Mary, I see your hand and I'll let you very quickly, but this is board discussion now, so go ahead.
I just want to ask as a member of the public, that if each version can have a date on it, I tried to print out versions today and it was really confusing.
Mhm.
And I would like to see it could just be part of the footnote or whatever on each page, just saying what version. It would be really helpful.
Especially with this document that we continue. Hopefully this is one of the last times before it comes back to us again today. So thank you guys and
Okay,
Alan.
I'd
and-
This
also
version
like
says
to
August
point out
25,
Okay,
that,
because I've got literally 17 different versions.
Yeah,
So I think you're, if you just want to talk about the different things you can, but I think it's all the same thing, but that's part.
I'd like to point out that, the section starts there generally for commercial areas. So these descriptions they should be correct, but they're not gonna determine any zoning. They don't change the downtown plan or anything.
All
So
it's doing is describing the layout of the general layout of the city.
so it's
It's all it's doing.
general and we don't have to worry
Should
about
say, this is how Whitefish is laid out.
it being
In
too
general,
consequential.
right? Here's the commercial areas, here's the residential areas.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Like I said,
that's all it is.
I'm good to go.
all right. So any further questions on this for now? So now we're gonna move on to goals and objectives. And that on this August 20th version, that will begin on page 15. So we're going to start there. And we'll focus mainly, as council has directed us on, the omissions, but if there's another red marked area or a portion that somebody would like to go through, we can. Other than that, we're just gonna quickly go through the things that were omitted, struck out.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, where are we starting?
Go ahead.
Just so I have.
Yeah, so page 15 with the goals and objectives.
Got it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I presume that we're beginning to go through this line by line to a certain extent. Is that true?
We haven't been directed to go by it line by line
Well,
specifically.
We're reviewing sections, whether you call it line by line or sections or the entire document to a certain extent.
So
I'm just
anything,
wondering, do you want to do it by motion? In other words, like I motion to delete this line that they put in and I'd like it to go back to what it was or something like that.
We
Or how do you want to proceed here?
we can
In
do
order to
that.
Make adjustments to this document.
yeah, so anything that's not in red and edited, I think everyone's good on. But the things that are in red, if you have something that you would specifically like to bring up about it, definitely do. Some of it I think is not as contentious, so as we go through the things that are in red that were edits to the original staff draft, then we'll talk about those. So, yeah,
Want me to start with the first one?
sure, go ahead.
Okay, objectives, so let's see, goals. Number one, objectives. Item E is stricken out. Review zoning to diversify business and locations and to encourage necessary local serving goods and services near local population centers. I think that should be restored to the document.
I second that motion.
Well, I don't think we're making motions now.
No, I was just bringing it up, yeah.
Okay, I thought you said that.
Yeah,
Can you do
so,
that at the end?
Well,
I think that's the
that was my
idea.
first
yeah,
question.
just talk about it and then at the end, we'll do
Okay.
a motion on things that we actually want to change. Frank, does that sound? Or should we motion as we go, just to quicken it?
For my purpose, I think it follows a little bit, if we're talking about a section and we've got a change that we've been suggested, we discuss it. I think we make the change then as opposed to hold on to that, we'll make a motion at the end. Again, for purposes of tracking and making sure we don't forget something, I think probably a better idea, like, okay, we're talking about this section, is there a change you want to it? Okay, does everybody agree on that? And then
Motion,
we
vote, done.
yeah.
Okay, all right.
Hey, come on.
All right, so Toby, would you like to make a motion about goal 1, objective E?
Yeah, I made a motion
Okay.
that under goal number one, objective E, be restored to the document.
And I second that motion.
All right, do you want to speak to your motion?
I understand that. My request would be, okay, your rationale.
My rationale is that would allow local serving goods and services near local population centers. For instance, out by the soccer fields, I would consider that a large population center out there.
Mhm.
And this would not allow any zoning of 7-Eleven, just as in a term, not for business. But, you know, a local market or something like that. And, you know, maybe a local laundromat or something. And so, I think that zoning should be allowed to, encourage those businesses to come, but maybe somebody wants to put in a daycare center.
So it's my understanding that that River Lakes neighborhood
Mhm.
had in the beginning, they wrote in to have a sandwich shop or a coffee shop, something in that. And then everyone in that whole neighborhood said, no way, we do not want that here.
Following no, but hell no.
Yeah,
We
so,
can't tell you the number of meetings we had on that particular issue.
All right.
so every,
It was there, it's like.
Yeah, I was just using that as an example.
You know, I hear you.
You know, we could go to other places around
Yeah.
that may want it.
But, okay.
Okay, I'd like to address that one, because I think it's important. So, first of all, generally, it's my view that what we did with, what we adopted in the May meeting is very consistent with what was requested at the visioning session. And particularly, the number one item of importance was small town feel, and Alan's charts and all the green things that he put up, he included that, and small town feel apparently is very important. And having commercial scattered throughout the city really conflicts with the idea of a small town feel. I've said in some of my own comments that this is the road to Helena. You drive across Helena and there is commercial scattered everywhere. We don't, I don't want that, and I think it's pretty clear from the visioning sessions that people who are there don't want it. And there's a big problem here. If we allow commercial and residential areas, it's a really slippery slope. How do you decide what to let in and what not? It's very difficult. It's much easier just to say no commercial in residential areas. Otherwise, we're gonna see a McDonald's by the high school, a Wendy's by the high school, a Burger King, if that still exists. Anyway, there will be a lot of pressure for that, and that's what we were up to when we adopted this. And I analyzed the economic diversity comments, and some of them were confused by the staff as between economic diversity, which almost everyone wants, and diversity of locations, meaning spreading the commercial into the residential areas. So I found only 6 out of the 50 comments even referred to commercial in residential areas. That's a very small number. And you balance that against the small town feel, which was so important to so many. And I think that's why I would approve this. And so D is related to item 2J. We took out D, which is, or 1E, I guess, on the new version. And 2J was put in prohibit commercial uses in residential zones other than those currently allowed. So that's what we did with the document.
There's lots of commercial uses that are allowed in residential zones on major arterials, so if you add that in there. Conflicting with existing zoning.
Yeah, we said residential zones other than those currently allowed, so.
Well, you're talking about other than the uses that are allowed or other than the zones that currently allow commercial use? There are residential zones that allow commercial uses.
No,
So you have to be very specific.
other than
Otherwise,
those
it's a major
currently
change
allowed
in the zoning.
reverts back to the commercial uses. So,
Make sure your goals and objectives are very clear what they're objecting, because you're talking about the zoning, there's zones, there's residential zones that already allow commercial with conditional use permits.
oh, Yeah,
So just.
and we're
be aware of
allowing,
that as you're looking at this, whatever you
Just allow
decide,
that.
just be careful.
You can control with zoning what goes where.
Right?
Let me just clarify what we're talking about, if I can. Motion is to restore E, which says review zoning to diversify business locations and encourage necessary local serving goods and services near population centers. The fact that we have zoning that allows from that, all this is saying is we're removing that we're gonna review that because we don't want, the community doesn't want any more than they've got.
I would argue that that's just not factually correct. Like, there's a lot of assumptions being made about what small town character is and what people do and do not want. There's a reason that downtown neighborhoods are as popular as they are. You can walk to commercial areas. I know that we live downtown, a mile from downtown, because we like being able to access those things. And not everyone can afford to live in the downtown neighborhoods. And so to say that having limited commercial retail opportunities, potentially, even just reviewing those zoning opportunities in other parts of the city, is denying access to a really high quality of life that people that live down near the downtown core have. It's essentially saying, if you can't afford to live downtown, then I'm sorry, you don't have access to this higher quality of life that those that live in the neighborhoods do. And so to me, like, it's a slap in the face of what draws people to Whitefish in the first place. Like, when I moved away and lived out in other places, I grew up here. I grew up a mile from downtown. I got to walk to the beaches and all of that. When we moved to other places, what I noticed is the places that were bigger, that had this residential commercial mixture, they had the strongest communities. They had a connectivity that did not exist in the places that we lived in that didn't have access to residential and commercial. So be really careful when you say that not allowing commercial and residential zones reflects small town character. I just think that is not a fair assumption. That is a personal opinion. And I'm saying that there are other people in our community, and there were public comments during the visioning sessions that said so. And so I think, like, even just acknowledging, like, hey, let's review the zoning. There's no, like, it's gonna happen for sure. It's saying, like, let's look at the zoning and how could the zoning add to the quality of life of our residents that maybe don't live in areas that are easy to walk to commercial right now.
What you're saying. This does, by removing this or having it removed, doesn't say that we can't otherwise review or something.
Right, but it's highlight, like, by purposely getting it out, it acknowledges that the people on this board are ignoring people who showed up to those visioning sessions and said, hey, I'm interested in this. It's not saying, let's establish zoning. It's saying, let's look at zoning. And I think that that's my point, is like, none of this, like you said, it's not saying it's gonna happen, but when you intentionally take it out of the document, you are silencing voices that showed up and said, hey, I would like residential and commercial mix, and this would add to my quality of life. And so if you guys choose, if the board chooses that, just know how that's gonna look. And when people show up to public meetings and speak up their mind, they're gonna see these kind of actions as like, well, your voice doesn't really matter, because we're not even gonna put this as a priority to even look at it, review the zoning in the first place.
I don't want us to go down that road that if something does or does not make it in, that voice is being ignored.
But that's how I feel. And that's
I
how people I
understand that.
talk to feel.
It was, and you know this. And it happens all the time around here. If somebody says something from the mic and it doesn't get enacted, they don't feel like they've been heard. Doesn't mean that they weren't heard, it just failed that day.
Right, but what I'm saying, when you intentionally come in here and staff has put this document together based off of public visioning sessions. They are the experts. They are the planners. And they went through and they looked at all of that stuff and they say, okay, what we gathered from this is that we need to review the zoning, or this could be an objective. It's not even set in stone. It could be an objective to review. So when we are purposely striking this out, that sends a message really loud and clear.
Madam Chair, one thought, Doctor. So in light of this, like John, I also went back and looked at the visioning session statements and tried to determine what exactly was meant by diversity and economic diversity. And I came up with a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 5 people. And that was being generous about looking at who spoke about what. And it's difficult because a lot of the people, they weren't tracked by person, they were tracked by comment. So it seems likely that a lot of the same people were making comments throughout. So counting comments seems to be what's going on here, but in fact, it was only a very few people that commented on that particular issue in the planning sessions. By my count, by John's count, I mean, we can argue about it, but that's not what I found when I went back and looked in detail.
And then also the voices who say we do not want business and commercial sprinkled into residential. Those were very strong throughout the public comment. I printed a letter from Flathead Families for Responsible Growth that specifically talked about that. We've seen multiple different instances. I've been on the planning board since 2018, and we've had many different areas come forth that have offered business in residential. And by the time it actually comes to fruition, that neighborhood says no. So it sounds nice, I think, in theory, in someone else's neighborhood, but then when a shop is actually going in the middle of someone's houses, they decline pretty wholeheartedly. You know, there are places where it's already allowed, and I understand that, and I, understand that we have to be careful with the wording of this to make it clear what we're doing. But removing this, to me, is the small town feel that was called for, keeping a center area and not sprawling into neighborhoods with businesses. So I would vote against this motion.
I maybe for context, I'd like to add one other thing. We keep referring to this as the Heart of Whitefish draft. And that's not what this is. These changes are. Heart of the changes were the result of Heart of Whitefish's effort to compile all the information from the public website and all of the comments and extensive comments from other groups, including the Whitefish Visitors Convention Bureau. So for example, in the middle of this, when we've got all these red lines in the middle of this thing that nobody seems to have any real problems with, tourism related impacts, there were substantial changes that were corrections to the consultant's report that were inaccurate. And so with all of these, the input was much broader than just Heart of Whitefish. And I think that the fact that it's been Heart of Whitefish was sort of to demonize this.
I would call question.
All right, so we'll go ahead and vote on the motion unless anybody has anything specific that they feel they need to add that they haven't already said. All right, so all in favor of Toby's motion, raise your hand. Okay, 2, 4, motion fails.
All opposed.
All opposed, okay. All right, so that will stay out, so no changes so far to this document. All right, and then we have the addition to continue to support local businesses, accommodate growth. I don't think anyone wants to review that. The next omission is D. And this is continue to restrict and regulate big box retail. And there was the addition of prohibit big box retail. We just did a zoning text amendment very recently, and it also passed through city council. So I think this deletion and addition reflects that, as well as what we have heard from visioning sessions on the whole. Any question about that?
Super question for Angie, from a legal perspective, can the city ban big box retail or can we restrict it and we can put like a maximum size for buildings, but you know, if we allow a certain type of use and a big box retailer wanted to come in and they met that use, could we prohibit them from a legal perspective?
I mean, not for met zoning, I wouldn't think. I mean, I think like you had a, great idea if we could, reduce the space to the point where it would make it not sense, yes, but no, I don't.
By setting a maximum building size, for instance.
Yeah.
But prohibiting big box retail, I just don't think it's possible through zoning. So I mean, having that language in there, I could put some language that said, research ways to further limit and restrict big box retail or something like that.
I like that.
Is it just based on a square footage? I mean, what does that mean? Is it like more than 20,000 square feet then?
10,000 square feet.
So anything over 10,000?
Yeah, that's the way we.
If we
Currently, we have a
say,
restriction of 10,000.
if we say prohibit big box retail, then the planners and the people who draw up zoning regulations can effect that by saying, okay, nothing over 5,000 square feet. But if this is, we're talking about goals and objectives. This is the big picture. Big picture is to prohibit them. And, so
No, well,
we achieve that goal by, drawing a small number on the size. As Alan mentioned on June 2nd at the meeting with the city council, sorry about the chair squeaking, but it was nearly unanimous at the visioning sessions against big box retail and chain stores. And that's consistent with what I found. So we have a strong mandate to prohibit big box retail, and I think we should do it.
And John, I disagree with you. I would say that I think that having a statement in here that says just simply to continue to restrict and regulate big box retail, and the economic impact analysis requirement for proposals for those uses is more the spirit of what we were talking about. I don't think if it said here, we're not gonna have any strip joints in town, I'm okay with that. Just be okay with that. But big box retail, I think this does exactly that without having to simply just say prohibit big box retail. I think it's a better approach from a philosophical position. I think it's a better approach from a legal position to reinforce what we continue to do on a daily. All this is saying is that we're going to continue to do what we do, is regulate the crap out of them and minimize where they can go, and as opposed to prohibit. I just think that's a
Prohibit is much closer to what the people wanted at the visioning session and what Heart of Whitefish, Citizens for Better Flathead families, big groups are wanting. If we go to regulate, oh my goodness, that opens the door, maybe only this much, but the moneyed interests can use that to push their way through. And we've seen that over and over again. So I think it's a really slippery slope if we go down that road. I think we have to remain with prohibit, and then it can be effectuated by the planning department and drawing zoning regulations. Put a small number on it, but that's effectuating the goal of prohibiting.
I'm just a little bit concerned about using the word prohibit. You know, from a legal standpoint, that somebody could come in and go, you can't say that I can't be in there.
Well, between now and the time the city council votes on this, or even the time we vote on it, maybe a legal memo could be developed. I think we can't, my instincts say we can prohibit.
Can we prohibit?
But
Well, in the very
that-
next
that's
section.
gonna require,
I don't know.
It is, of course, I do not think you.
Big box retail, okay.
okay, so we say prohibit it and then we don't zone for it. That would work, but these are just guesses
And then also,
by a very good lawyer and other lawyers.
what, I
But it needs to be researched very
Well, I
carefully to
wonder-
understand what we're up against.
what the term big box retail,
Yeah, that's
Are we
gonna have to
talking
be
about
defined
Best
also.
Buy or a Gap store? I've been in cities where the, what is it, the Oddfellows building down there, the old pottery shop and like that? Gap store could easily go on. That's a pretty big box.
This set dives in the detail
And
and who draws the
Then-
zoning regulations,
You know,
does
you
that.
gotta find your
Have to,
definition of a big
How about-
box retail and what goes into it,
this is the big view.
you know, cause,
The definitions will be supplied later.
you know.
I'm gonna make a motion that we reinstate, D as it was drafted, and not make the change to simply say for the job retail.
I'll second that.
I think I made my argument for why it should go that way. And so if anybody wants anything more, that's for me, in terms of why I made that motion, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
But that's my motion.
All right, so we have a motion to reinstate what has been stricken on D, continue to restrict and regulate big box retail, and explore adding an economic impact analysis requirement for proposals of those uses, which within that same motion, we will take and retract prohibit big box store altogether, and that's been seconded by Toby. All right,
One other note is that we already added that requirement for an economic impact analysis in the zoning, so that's already been accomplished. So that wouldn't necessarily need to be included in that sentence. Could just say, continue to restrict and regulate big box retail.
I'm fine with that edit, I'm fine with it the way it's drafted. It doesn't, I don't think it hurts with what's already been done. And I can argue it's
But
redundant.
it's nice to have goals that are achievable or not already done.
That's true.
Check it out.
And I like the aspect of the fact that what we're doing is we're sort of aiming at the big box store. But in the following one, continue to prohibit formula retail, things like that, because that's what we don't want is, we don't necessarily want a Gap store downtown or,
mhm.
you know, or Margaritaville restaurant or whatever.
Okay, so Frank, do you want your motion to stand with the whole sentence being
Yeah.
restated?
I,
Okay,
it's my view of that one is David is, okay, we already checked that one off, so, okay,
so leave it all.
leave it on.
Okay, so all in favor of that motion, raise your hand. Okay, all against? All right, so that motion will keep the status quo.
We're keeping the whole thing, continue to restrict and explore.
Actually, the
No,
motion.
so the
failed.
motion failed, so it
So
will stay as the
Leave it
draft had
big
it.
Box and we get the,
Prohibit big box.
yeah,
Mhm.
just leave it the way it is and we'll get another bite at it when it comes for public hearing.
Mhm. Okay, so E is similar to this. And modify code to include regulation of, and it's now changed to prohibit. Do we need to have a discussion about that, or can it stay as it is?
That was the text amendment we
Yeah.
passed, wasn't it? Okay,
Mhm.
It's already done.
yeah, so
So we don't need. No need to talk about that. Go ahead.
No, we don't need to talk about it. I don't agree that we should prohibit that. We should regulate the crap out of it. And, but that goes to my prior motion, but I understand a little.
Okay, between now and our next chance at this, we'll figure out legally what makes sense.
Yeah.
Maybe. All right, so moving on to H, support creative a lower cost enterprise that caters to locals like food trucks, pop-up shops. All right, so that's H. Does any, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to reinstate, support creative lower cost enterprises that cater to locals such as food trucks or temporary pop-up shops using existing underutilized buildings, facilities, or outdoor spaces.
Does that have a second?
I'll second it.
So I think that, some of the public comment we even heard tonight, kind of reinforces the need for things like this. We have multiple storefronts, downtown that are empty right now, and giving more economic opportunity for people that may not be able to afford to start a business in the very expensive downtown core, I think is a great economic opportunity. I also, as a local, cannot afford a lot of things, and a lot of people within my community cannot afford to pay for things locally as is. And I think allowing more economic opportunity for those locals potentially to start businesses and to be able to have opportunities to support local businesses and with Whitefish without having to have a ton of money is important.
Well, the issue is whether we are going to openly support this. And it doesn't prohibit them. It's just whether we spend extra effort to support them. And I have a bit of a problem, which I actually didn't see before. The words using existing underutilized buildings, facilities, or outdoor spaces. I wonder what that's gonna work out to mean. It's a bit vague, as it necessarily has to be, because these are general objectives. But do we mean only using existing underutilized buildings, facilities, or outdoor spaces? Are there any other places that they could go? I wonder about that. In the basic consideration we're making when we passed this, or at least from my point of view, was that these businesses detract from the long-term businesses which stay through the winter and serve the locals year-round. And so if it does harm to these businesses, which are really central to the core of downtown, maybe that's not such a good thing.
Yes, point of clarification. Mary, what do we mean support?
So that's where something could look into like a permitting process to allow it to be lower barrier to do things like food trucks, do things like pop-up shops, those kind of things. Because I know people who have food trucks that have worked within Whitefish, and it is not an easy or low barrier process whatsoever. And I think, I don't have all the answers. I don't know what that would look like. I think that that's where we have further conversation of like, how could things potentially a permitting change so that there's more opportunity for those who don't have maybe the financial resources to start a business right now in the downtown core. But I mean, I grew up here. I saw Amazing Crepes start as a food truck at the farmers market, which is a great opportunity. I think we need more opportunities for things like food trucks, and Amazing Crepes was able to go from a food truck into the downtown core. So it doesn't necessarily mean if we allow like lower cost options that it'll detract from local businesses. In fact, a lot of local businesses that have been here for 30 or 40 years would not be able to start right here, right now with the cost of everything. And so kind of getting creative on what could the city do possibly to kind of open that door for alternative ways of starting businesses within Whitefish. That's kind of my perspective.
So we do have the farmer's market, like you just mentioned, Amazing Crepes began with, that's still an option. It's here. We have the food truck court now, that's seasonal. So we're not in that encouraging year-round businesses. And I think that's a dangerous thing to do, to be really, focusing on visitor times and not focusing on year round for the shops that are here. And as far as a low cost alternative, I understand it's very difficult to start a business in Whitefish. These,
I want to disabuse everybody here. It's a little irritating. It is no more difficult to do business in the city of Whitefish than it is in the city of Kalispell or the city of Columbia Falls. It may cost more because our real estate costs more.
Mhm.
It is not more difficult.
Thank you for that clarification. Yeah.
I just want, that needs to be stated. I know that's a meme out there. It's been there for quite some time.
So financially
Cost
difficult.
of starting a business is high every place.
Mhm.
It is difficult every place. So I get that. I'm okay with the concept that we need to. Anyway, that just,
Yeah.
I think we need to let that go.
And an example of this is, Sweet Peaks. It started out of a trailer. And now it's got 5, 6 of them all over the county and all over the state.
Yeah.
It can be done.
Right.
You know, and so I think supporting these enterprises, what does it mean? You know, how much do we have to support them? We don't have to give them money. It's a matter of acknowledging the fact that, oh, this person wants to start a business. They want to put a little pop-up thing. I mean, I've seen it years ago. There was a guy that was selling hot dogs across the street from the Great Northern, but we didn't go out until 10 o'clock at night or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess my question is, okay, if it's, is it, are we really saying here that we want to review or continue to review business startups, opportunities to increase the economic diversity? I mean, is that what we're saying here? Because, I mean, we've got an area, there aren't too many areas where we can actually do this. I mean, we have to have sardines, we have to have things like that. There is a food court now that I mean, that's a way to start a business downtown and encourage it. So in terms of what the city can do, I guess the question is, are we saying we want to somehow examine a regulatory statute scheme on the cost of starting a business? I mean, is that what we're talking about?
That could definitely be something as like what, if we want to encourage kind of some of those like bottom up, you know, like working from the ground up businesses, looking at like, is there a way to look at fees? You know, that, I mean, that's where I think like even just acknowledging that maybe we look at it, right? And what could be done to encourage more economic innovation in these spaces. And it's not saying that, you know, we're actively not doing that. It's just like nodding to the fact that like Whitefish does have a lot of businesses that started from the bottom when things were really affordable, right? And so is there something that the city could do when it comes to permitting or whatever it is that would acknowledge that barrier to entry to just cost, right? To starting a business in Whitefish that could make it more feasible for someone to start that food truck with the goal, you know, hopefully they someday may be able to open something downtown Whitefish.
Well, this is two separate issues.
Right.
What we do to support, or whether we specifically support food trucks. But the other issue is maybe we should have one of our goals and objectives be make it as easy as feasible to start a business. And we need to have
If that's
a
what we're
system
talking
that
about, that's a
really
different issue. That's a different
allows young people
right.
to try to give it a try without, you know, a blizzard of paperwork, which I hope we have.
Again, the blizzard of paperwork is generally not the city, but I'm okay with the idea that, okay.
But that's a separate objective.
So what we
Making
say,
it easy
so
to
what
do.
we're saying is we would still delete this, but we would put in something to the effect of, continue to, evaluate, the cost of starting and operating a business within the city of Whitefish. Is that kind of what we're getting on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also a nod to like. I mean, that covers it. I think it's just also a nod to that it is harder to maybe start a traditional business in Whitefish, but I guess. With acknowledging you're not, right, you're not saying that that's not in the picture, right? Yeah.
We can control what we do within this building.
Right, and I think that that's just acknowledging like, okay, it's like you said, it's like, what are the barriers maybe to some of those things? I think that.
And,
I'm not opposed to that.
Okay.
So I would suggest continue to evaluate and simplify the process of starting a business.
And
That'd be a separate motion.
I mean, all they need is to register their business and then have, you know, does it meet the code? Is it allowed in that zone? That's all we look at.
right,
Business licenses are very, very cheap for the registration in Whitefish.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything more the city can do to make it easier. You know, I mean, this particular goal, like, for instance, when we were evaluating the food truck port, we could have used this as a supporting goal, saying, okay, that food truck port's coming in. Here's a goal that says support these types of businesses. So, you know, it'd help us find, you know, growth policy backup for why we would approve or disapprove something like that, right? So, I mean, that's what we look at there. You know, as far as how else we could use it, I mean, like a pop-up business, there's nothing in our code that prohibits an empty building for allowing another business to come in and do a pop-up there. That's just between whoever owns it and whoever wants to lease it for a short amount of time or whatever. But, so the city doesn't really have any control over that. But I mean, in general, like having a goal that tries to support these things, I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think anything we can do to help small business owners, startups, you know, to do that. We have stuff in some of our other things about business incubator and things like that.
Yeah.
They just, you know, it's hard to come to fruition without, you know, a dedicated economic development arm that's actively helping businesses and providing grants, providing resources, providing legal advice and all those things. Those are some of the big things, you know, that keep people from starting businesses, being overwhelmed by, you know, what they need to do and the red tape and how do I look at a lease to make sure I'm not getting screwed and all that kind of stuff, right? But,
okay, so again, my question is, and where we are, do we leave this deleted? Is there something we want to put in its place that's maybe more generic and more consistent with what we're really talking about here? I mean, I agree that we are, I don't know of any way that we could make it from a city perspective any harder or any easier than we kind of already have. We've got areas where we changed our zoning to allow for that lot to be used as and so, yes, go ahead.
I'll give an example.
Sure.
So this, you know, this is a policy document, this is giving positions in the city.
Right.
And among other things, coming up with work programs, it's giving positions in the city. I'll give you an example. What if the city had it in our GIS database, was able to track where the vacant spaces are that could be available for periods of time, and we made that available to the general public for those kinds of things. So this is, and I'm not saying that's the option. What I'm saying is, this is a general policy of the city that we will continue to look for ways to try to support those kinds of ideas. That's what this is.
Okay.
Right? I could tell you, being a GIS guy, that I could put together a GIS to look at where the vacant spaces are in the city and provide those to people that are looking for types of businesses. And maybe the city has the ability through some kinds of grants to help people start their kinds of businesses, and they can use this thing to help them with that. So there's any myriad, again, I'm not sure about the expert, but I'm saying, what does this actually hurt? Does this actually hurt something?
Well, I would answer that with, we've given multiple examples of people who started from the ground up and have built a shop front and have worked for years. You know, Mallory, you gave some examples. Toby, you did as well. So does this hurt anything? Potentially, to have pop-up businesses potentially taking, you know, business that those year-round businesses enjoy when they have worked hard to be here. I don't know, but to me, in my mind, that's what it could potentially hurt.
I mean, lots of arguments when food trucks first wanted to come in Whitefish, all the brick and mortar, a couple of brick and mortar businesses were like, we spent $1 million for our, downtown building, and now here's this other business competing with us across the street. But over time, everybody's realized what food trucks offer that's different than the sit-down dining experience. And I think that there's a balance there, and I don't know that anybody nowadays really thinks that food trucks
So Frank,
are hurting with brick and mortar business.
just one point to follow up on what Whitney said. The language here is that these businesses cater to locals. And the food trucks, pop-up shops, they're all seasonal. And they don't cater to locals. I don't know of many local people that do patronize the food trucks anymore. The restaurants, just because their food trucks are also very, very expensive. And so, I think calling out food trucks and pop-up shops specifically would, like Dave says, create a basis upon which those two things, find their way into the code, a basis for it in the growth policy. So, I side with Whitney's observation about the impact that it has, locking them into an advantage that, other types of businesses might not have.
Yeah, we're not prohibiting, pop-up shops and food trucks. In fact, they're both entirely permitted now. So,
Well, and the food court has one.
I'm reluctant to give them an advantage. I think it should just be level, like anybody else. And then have a separate thing that we vote on, continue to evaluate and simplify the process of starting a business.
Okay, so Mallory's motion has been to reinstate H. Do you still have that motion, Mallory?
Yep.
Okay, and seconded by Toby. All right, so all in favor, raise your hand. Okay, against, raise your hand. Okay, so the motion fails. This stays omitted. And then, John, would you like to make your alternative motion to support the totality of businesses?
Okay.
Continue
With
to-
Frank's permission, did I say it right sufficiently?
I don't
Read it
recall
again.
exactly what you said.
Okay. Continue to evaluate and simplify the process of starting a business.
Starting businesses in Whitefish.
Mm-hmm, and Whitefish.
Well,
Okay. All right, I'll second that. All in favor of that motion, raise your hand. Okay, unanimous passing. Woo-hoo. Look at us go. All right,
Actually, make me biased.
so Jay, consider future zoning amendments to allow small scale neighborhoods serving light commercial or mixed use in appropriate areas. This,
We already
I think
addressed
we've
that.
already addressed.
The previous goal. was that.
Yes,
I do want to make a comment though, like,
Go
we,
ahead.
we can acknowledge that you guys are gonna disagree, but I'm still gonna motion to consider future zoning amendments to allow small scale neighborhood serving light commercial or mixed use in appropriate areas. And I will just re-emphasize.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Okay, motion fails for a second. All right. Moving on to goal 3, page 17. D. Consider a program for downtown area that can evaluate and determine a limit of certain prolific business types. Such as art galleries, jewelry stores. This was stricken. And does anybody have any issue with this?
Well, I just say that I think the original intent of D was to stop us from, to a certain extent, becoming like big four. But it's 50% art galleries. And we're, to a certain extent, we're. Stops, places, things like that. So I don't know how you can regulate and say you can't go in there,
Yeah.
but I do appreciate the intent of it.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't care either way, but we do already do that with lead businesses, right? So, I mean, it's possible to do that. Again, I don't care.
That's
Yeah,
a state,
there's like
Oh,
limited
yeah.
number.
You know,
right? That's a state regulation.
Fine.
Dispensaries, actually,
Yeah.
it's the,
That's a, s-
pardon my
correctly, Melanie, I
elderly.
think that we're able to reach, and maybe we can do it here too, or it is minimized only by setbacks or so they can't be within certain feet of each other, they can't be,
So
within-
that
so,
minimizes.
so that minimizes where it's allowed and effectively the number that can be downtown, or effectively the number that can be any place.
Yeah, I don't bring that up. 'cause I
Yeah, no,
really-
but it's like, okay,
That's how. we
so,
do it.
but yeah,
That's a
so
good point.
so,
To
yeah.
revise this, so it's not consider a program for the downtown area that can evaluate and determine a limit. Well, that's basically what it would be, is the set of things saying, you know, there cannot be 3 art galleries in a row.
Yeah,
those are not.
other places that do it, they set a distance, like a minimum of
Yeah, that's what
a
I'm saying.
setback, 200 feet between them, so it's not all in a row. You know, when I lived and worked in Ketchikan, Alaska, which is a cruise ship stop, there were 50 jewelry stores in a town of 14,000 people. Right?
Yeah.
You know, and then everything was jewelry stores. So, I mean, and it did impact the local people because they had nowhere to shop because all of the downtown was owned by out-of-state businesses that just catered to the tourists. And so,
They
opened
probably
the door
didn't
for Walmart to come in, but.
So assume with me, if we will, I think there's some consensus here that there's something here to be salvaged. We don't want, like you said, 50 art galleries occupying the entire section of or whole halves of blocks. Is there something that you, David, that you think, or some language that could address that? Or Alan, is there something we could?
I mean, the language of there, continue, you know, consider a program or evaluate, determine if, you know, should be some restrictions or limitations on types of businesses. I mean, I think it's something that needs to be studied and look at other communities and see if that's something that would even apply here. You know, I haven't gone down and looked door to door to door lately to see what kind of businesses are there, if that's something that's even a problem, but maybe we do have a lot of art galleries and stores. You know, it could be, you know, other types of businesses, I don't know, but.
Does the downtown master plan address this at all?
No.
Because Whitefish, I mean, our zoning allows all retail sales and services. We have no restriction on any sales or services in the downtown B3.
The downtown master plan actually does not support retail on the bottom floor on Baker. And there's retail on the bottom floor in Baker, but if you look at the land use classifications in the downtown, it does not support ground, regardless if that's what our intent is. If you look at the plan, it does not support ground floor retail on Baker.
Rhonda, you have master plan input.
I do, thank you. The master plan emphasizes local serving businesses throughout, and it's in the, very first part, emphasizing supporting local serving businesses. And, it requires continuous retail on Central Avenue. It doesn't not support retail on Baker or Spokane. It just doesn't require, which it requires on Central Avenue. And so, obviously at the time, we were trying to build out from the core. So side streets also don't require that, I think, but, certainly would be great to add that for Baker and Spokane, in my opinion. And the thing we just adopted about, incentivizing creation of business, look, I hope you would insert the term local serving businesses. So I think that's the key criteria.
And refresh my recollection. This was deleted, but where was this sourced? Why was this?
Something else in the economic.
Came out of the GSBS report, this is done, right? I mean, there are places that either have distances or numbers or requirements to write numerous, just what Dave referred to. This was brought to us through GSBS, and it was also one of the things that were talked about by the stakeholders, and you can see in the stakeholder comment letter that I gave. So people were like, there's too many diamond stores, there's too many art stores. We're using some kind of way to limit. What this is saying is, look at a way to do that. Here's an example of how you can do that. It doesn't say we have to do it that way, but it's saying that not everybody, I don't want to go down there and buy a painting. I want to go down there and buy a sandwich.
Right. So, well, maybe we say, consider possible programs for the downtown area that can evaluate and determine, and or increase the diversity of businesses within the core, or something to that, is that kind of what we're getting at?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is this something that should be done through the master plan or not? Because I don't know.
What's the goal?
Well, to be implemented through zoning.
Yeah.
Or local programs or a study or whatever.
But I mean, if you were gonna limit certain types of businesses, you would have to identify what types and then put.
Right.
This, say, no more than 2 or 3 per block or something like that,
Right.
whatever. Kind of like we do marijuana stores.
So, does that cover our problem, or do we want, I mean, quite frankly, I might be fine leaving this. I think I would like it to be even a little more broad and, maybe benign. Consider a program or consider possible programs for the downtown area that can evaluate and determine and increase the diversity of business types within the core, or something to that effect. I think that's a better way of saying this.
Yeah, and then just eliminate all the rest.
Right.
Yeah, that one.
If I don't,
sentence.
yeah,
We don't need the for example.
Yeah.
Like 5 sentences.
That
Just
some people's hair.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that sounds,
Can you say that language again?
Yeah,
let me see if I can. Consider a program. For the consider possible programs. For the downtown area. That can evaluate and determine.
I think you said it's
And
gonna
evaluate
and look at
Increase
increasing
the
diversity,
diversity of
business type.
business types,
business type.
particularly for local serving. The local serving, local oriented, local.
For year-round
local
local
serving.
serving,
Yeah,
Year round would be good.
year-round
You could
local
work it in
serving, I like, yeah.
Consider possible programs for the downtown area that can evaluate and increase the diversity of year-round businesses.
You're running local serving businesses.
local serving.
Year round and local serving.
Yeah, I'm thinking into and in there. Year-round local serving businesses.
Pardon?
I was just saying, the and probably doesn't need to be in that sentence. Year-round and local serving.
Okay, that's fair.
Year-round.
I think we should toss out that and.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we all
I
agree.
agree.
All right, so we have a,
Take that.
Pass that one.
That would be what I would motion and put in that.
okay,
And I'll second that motion.
all right, been motioned and seconded to have that inserted.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone in favor? Raise your hand. Okay, great, motion passes unanimously. So D stays out and this replaces it. Done. Study the feasibility of a demand-based paid downtown parking program. We've talked about this a little, heard some public comment. Anybody have a,
I
go ahead,
think that from what Frank said, it's kind of a moot point. We ought to just put it back in,
put it back.
because you're studying it anyway. Aren't you?
We are, maybe I'm presuming too much. I don't, I would leave this deleted knowing that we're gonna study it. I'm pretty sure where we're gonna come out on this thing. We've been down this road too many times, Toby, as you are well aware. But I'm happy to study it, but leaving it in here and we're already doing it,
Yeah,
would
that's why I say it's sort of a moot point,
create,
whether it's in or out.
yeah. Yeah,
Okay, so it's a moot point, but to the extent that it represents an opinion, at least for me, I'm opposed to paid downtown parking, so I'm
Okay.
opposed to studying it.
Right.
So that's a second reason to leave it out.
right. Well, again, let me just walk through this with, at least the way I view it. Leaving leaving this in here is of no, I don't think it helps. It doesn't, this is not saying you're prohibited from studying the feasibility and based downtown parking or whatever you want to say. So that's always gonna be an opportunity for us if at some point in the future I just don't see that that's helpful. For lack of a
Same.
better description.
So can we pass this or just
Yeah,
come on?
I'm very comfortable leaving it the way it is.
All right. Okay,
We need
In
to.
let me ask Dave, in the transportation section, is there an examination of the extent to which Whitefish is accommodating the automobile and what the alternatives may be to accommodate it less or more?
Talk about that a little bit.
I can answer that, because the transportation section is done and online review, you haven't seen that. But, the transportation section does not prioritize the automobile. It prioritizes, it actually looks at motorized and non-motorized transportation and it, prioritizes it equally. So it does not say, we're gonna accommodate for cars only. It says that the city should be designed that cars are not necessary. And there is a section in there about.
It says, so such that cars are not necessary?
I'm paraphrasing it. It basically says that Whitefish is a multimodal transportation network that's comprised of the road network, the non-motorized network, the rail network, the air network, and I'm missing something. And it basically says that, non-motorized options should be accommodated in all forms of mobility.
Does it talk about public transportation?
Yes, thank you, that was the fifth one. So it's saying that Whitefish shall be a multimodal transportation network. And that network is comprised of the road network, the active network, that means non-motorized, the road network, the active transportation network, the transit network, the rail network, and air network. And it says that, that non-motorized transportation should be treated equally as the automobile. I'm basically kind of paraphrasing, that's what it says. So roads should be built to accommodate pedestrians, accommodating for non-motorized vehicles, accessible, ADA should all have equal weight. That's basically, that's kind of what I'm saying.
Again,
That's what the transportation section will say. And it does have some language in there about recent parking studies, and what has been happening recently. And I think it talks kind of similar language here. But you'll see it sounds like now probably in October, so.
okay.
all right.
So do we need a motion on that one?
We're not doing anything with
Okay.
it from our adopted draft, so we can move on. Okay, so the last bit of this, we have the addition of Glacier Nordic Club and Nordic Ski Trails, which I think is fine. Surely with everyone.
Good with those.
Okay, and then, on 5, we have the deletion of and farm stops. Does anyone feel or have a reason to?
I'm just curious what a farm stop is compared
The roadside camp?
Well, I was actually added specifically a request from Save Farmland.
Okay,
Yeah.
And talk to us
That had full-
about what farm stops were and asked us to put that in.
okay.
Yeah,
So there's that.
so that's a different sort of thing, not like farm stand that's next to Super.
No,
Wine, not
there
like.
are like consignment stores that are set up, if I can remember correctly. It's kind of like it's almost, I mean, there's different types. There might be people that are more educated. I believe one theory is a consignment store, and the other thing that's happening now is almost a subscription type thing. Where you subscribe, and this is actually happening. It's a model where you subscribe and you get X amount of farm produce every
So it's like a
month
code.
or something like that.
CSA.
Yeah.
I belong to.
CSA.
But a CSA is not a farm stop.
What's a CSA?
It's like a-
Yeah,
Crop share.
So I did not know what that was, and same farmland asked me to add that.
Yeah,
Okay.
Rhonda,
I'm fine with it.
deletion.
So because I organized the farmer's market, I looked this up, as I was like, what is that? And it's like the farmer's stand that's next to Super One Foods, where farmers bring their product into a centralized grocery store, and the products sold in that store are from local farms. So that's already allowed, it's a grocery store.
Okay.
And so anywhere you have a grocery store, you could have a farm.
All right, so I'm fine with the way it is, unless somebody wants to make a motion alternatively. All right, so that finishes up our goals and objectives. Does anybody want to take a few minutes and then come back to do the bulk of, or is everybody good to
I can do
continue?
it.
You what?
Let's take,
Okay, then let's come back just before 8. Yeah,
again, this is what I believe we're looking at is a draft that this board has already looked at and essentially directed that this be brought back to them for review. That being said, it seems to me that maybe the way we might go through this a little quickly, given that, you know, 8 o'clock now, and there's some concern going past 8:39. Maybe what we do is, okay, is there anything, go through it by page, is there anything here that didn't meet our expectation or needs to be changed because it didn't do this? Approach it from a error standpoint as opposed to a,
does everyone agree?
yeah. That is, my understanding is we've all agreed to when this
Yeah.
draft was put together.
And then we've also already gone through the goals and objectives, so we've addressed most of this.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, that's just a thought.
Yeah, and that's not to preclude anyone from a motion that you want to make, definitely jump in and do that. But if it's not a change to the adopted draft, then we're gonna continue moving past things.
Yeah.
So are we waiting on anybody? Thanks. Toby found the popcorn, but I think we can safely begin. It's got 30 seconds. Yeah, and then just saying if there's anything that people object to or want to make a motion about.
It's an indictment of what Smart Food was bought by Frito Lay Company.
So it's no longer smart.
And guess who did the deal?
I guess the popcorn, I guess I'm buying more popcorn, but that's going, but
Mhm.
wow.
And nice for our lives and.
Nobody likes to cook.
Okay.
Yes. And
Okay.
nobody likes to cook. So,
Well, I had one.
nobody likes the crackers.
We can have them tomorrow at the planning board meeting.
It's true, I'll leave them up there.
Or maybe you're not
There you go.
tomorrow.
All right.
Whatever you
So-
want, popcorn. I guess I'm buying more popcorn.
I've been advised that our mics are live and we're ready to go, so we are gonna start with, the cover page looks good, no corrections there from anyone. Page number 2, as it's labeled now, we have voted on all of this. Is there anything that needs to be discussed?
I mean, are
Motion.
we having discussion?
Well, if there's something specific that you would like to make a motion on or feel like we need to discuss again, that's why we're doing this, because we've been, mainly the omissions is what the council said people were most concerned about, but if there's something, then bring it up for sure.
Okay, I make a motion to bring back, we will endeavor to provide a full range of goods, services, and jobs to serve our local population and strike through policies supporting moderate economic growth for our community.
Do we have a second?
So I just think that in the spirit of, wanting to be a year-round community that has that economic diversity of, like people of different economic backgrounds, that it is really important that we endeavor to provide a full range of goods, services, and jobs to serve our local population. I think that is an important piece in providing a community that is not hollowed out and that is full and vibrant. And I think that through policy supporting moderate economic growth for our community, I think that's a really vague, I kind of agree with staff's comment on that portion. And I can read that if you want me to.
I remember it. Toby, anything to add on that motion?
No, I agree. And that, what is moderate economic growth? Is there a number associated with moderate? Or rapid economic growth or slow economic growth? I think it's a little vague, hard to define.
From the public comment that we received, even though it was clear from Alan that the policy as it was written did not say the words rapid or moderate or slow. Saying that we would provide a full range of goods and services appeared to a lot of people in the community as rapid growth because there's so many things in the surrounding valley that are not here. And then John's referenced multiple times, there are 720 things that could be, if we're providing a full range, that's a lot, and that's a lot of growth. So for my perspective, that ties back into types of different retail that we could have come in, and we've already voted to say regulate that heavily. We have online shopping these days, a lot of people are doing. So I think the economy has changed, the world has changed as far as how we buy goods and services. We've had multiple things. It was interesting to hear tonight that Shopko as a whole closed, but I think there have been so many different retail type shops that have tried to survive in Whitefish and they simply don't. Toggery used to sell very basic things. Nobody supported them enough to buy those basic things, so people buy them elsewhere. So I don't think that it's us not supporting that. I think it's that we simply don't have the population who would shop locally to do that. So I would not be in support of that motion.
You could
Okay.
remove the word a full range of, I just say we will provide goods, services, and jobs to serve our local population without saying a full range of.
But isn't that kind of already what we do? Like right now, we don't have a good full range of goods and services and jobs. And so, I mean, if we get rid of full range, then might as well just not put it in there.
Yeah, I think full range is the problem. That, I think in a literal reading, it means 100% of job kinds. And this goes back to the GSBS report, table 5, where they point out that Whitefish is lacking 720 kinds of businesses. And we're lacking 12 of the 15 kinds of box stores. So the only way to do that would send Whitefish strongly in the direction of looking like Kalispell. Whitefish would have to grow a lot to accommodate all those businesses, and it would have to grow very quickly. This is where we get to rapid growth, because to get to 720 new business kinds by 2045, or even 500, that's a lot of rapid growth. And I pointed out before that at the visioning sessions, the planning staff represented various popularity or, well, the various threats to Whitefish. And number 1 was affordable housing. Number 2, traffic. Number 3, growth. But then if you take 2 others that are similar in font size, that's how they were displayed, to growth, then you would be adding in sprawl and development. So maybe growth is the greatest of the concerns at the visioning. And at the very least, it was way up there, one of the top concerns. So that's what caused us to use the word moderate, because moderate is not rapid. And yes, it's vague, but these are general goals. Saying moderate means that we don't particularly like rapid growth. Or you can interpret it as you see it.
Okay, any more discussion on this? Or call the question?
Yeah.
All right. So we had a motion to reinstate, we will endeavor and strike through policies supporting. All in favor of that motion? Okay, 2-4, those against? Okay, 2-4, the motion fails. Um,
All right, I would like to make a motion to introduce and locals families to move away. And then strike, fortunately, I don't think that that's necessary in that chunk of paragraph. So why do I think that it's important to say that local families moved away due to the recession is that I think that's an important part of our history. As our last growth policy was written and passed before the growth, before 2008 and the recession, I think it's an important part of our town's history. And as someone that was growing up here and close family and friends and saw my community change during that time, I think it's really important that we do not whitewash the history of what happened here. And then,
Where are we?
oh yeah, right below the introduction. So right here.
Oh,
Yep, so right there.
oh, I see. And
Yeah.
local families can move away.
And then fortunately, I just think that that's an unnecessary word. I think it's fine that we talk about in 2003, local businesses partnered with the city to develop the Whitefish Downtown Business District Plan. Implementation of the plan began in 2009 using a combination of resort tax. Like, I think that's all fine, but I don't think that the fortunately, because that indicates bias to me. I just think that we're stating fact here. And the fact is that these things happened.
So then your motion would be to eliminate or to add back in and local families to move away
Yep.
and strike the word fortunately.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I read in the context of that sentence, right, that I don't want to think that that's anything to do with the, policies of Whitefish or anything else that you're saying that to cause people to move away. And we did lose a lot of people during the recession. That makes sense to me. And I agree with you. I think the word fortunately in there does connotate, I guess you called it bias. It's certainly not necessary.
Depends on the heading of, doesn't change the meaning, it doesn't change the meaning. I don't think fortunately in this context, in any form of fashion, shows bias. I don't know what bias it would be showing towards. I think it is in fact a factual statement that it was fortunate for the city of Whitefish that we did do that. They partnered, they developed the downtown business plan. I think that was a fortunate thing as a factual matter. So I'm not, I quite frankly, I don't care because I don't think it makes that much of a difference. If you're okay with leaving fortunately under those circumstances, I certainly would be fine with that. I have no problem with striking, and local families moved away.
Bringing it back, you mean?
Yeah, bringing it back. I'm okay with that.
all right. So the motion is to reinstate local families move away and then keep the word fortunately.
Fortunately, okay.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second,
I'll second.
Leave it in.
all right. So all in favor of adding local families to move away, raise your hand. Okay, motion passes unanimously. It's back in. All right, moving on to page 3.
I motion to strike have chosen, so we're on page 3, paragraph 3, that starts many Whitefish residents are employed in high-paying professional level. I want to strike or have chosen to,
we could leave the or, but strike.
yeah, I'm
have
just looking
chosen
at
to.
the red.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Okay.
so get rid of the red, have chosen to, because for me, I think that that is an unnecessary, we're making assumptions about why people are commuting, and I don't think that that is an appropriate thing in the growth policy. There's a variety of reasons that people commute. I commute because I can't find a good paying job in Whitefish, and I know that there's other people that are in that boat. I know that there are people that commute into Whitefish because they can't afford housing in Whitefish, so I think that we have to be really careful with chosen. And so I would just prefer it not to be in there.
I'll second that motion.
Yeah,
Okay.
all right.
So you don't have anything else to say?
I'm fine with that being stricken. Okay, everyone in,
Call the question.
I'm agree with that.
all right, everyone in favor of taking out have chosen to? Okay, that passes. For taking out have chosen to.
How about,
Go ahead.
I had one, the paragraph prior to that, the red, approximately half is driven by visitation and second homeowners. I would suggest reinstating tourism is the largest contributor to the Whitefish economy, just as and second homeowners, comma, although tourism is by far the largest contributor to the Whitefish economy, because it is, I believe.
I guess there's a question about how much do second homeowners contribute to the economy? Is that really the biggest
More than the
contributors
tourists?
versus the hospital,
Yeah,
you know?
I just wanna know what the data is behind that, because that statement, I mean, if we have data for that, we're making a statement, but is there data behind that statement?
Well, on the front page, it says 43% is of all jobs are tourism.
Second homeowners.
We're not
We
talking
have
about
some
tourism.
data that says that second homeowners are driving the economy,
Okay.
because that's a statement, but I don't have that. data.
Visitation and second homeowners.
Visitation and second homeowners.
I think it's an attempt to not just say visitation because we have so many people visiting, but they own a home here. So it's not just tourism, it's people who own homes, but they act as tourists when they're here. Does that make sense?
Visitation kind of recognizing that, like, we're not lumping that into tourism, like,
Well, yeah, it's two separate categories. Somebody who's coming and contributing to the economy by staying somewhere, at one of our resorts or something versus coming to a house that they rent out monthly when they're not here. So that's tourism, but then also we have people who own the home here.
I know, what I'm saying is that I understand visitation, like second homeowner to fit underneath that, right? So it's because then we're also like, you could also have tourism within that. And that kind of encompasses that.
Don't have any data on how much
Right.
second homeowners contribute to the economy. I'm saying half of our economy, and it's lumping them into that. So we want it to be factual.
Right.
Let us see that data.
Okay,
Here's, I think,
That came, the big company.
do you have?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
May we recognize Ron?
Yes.
So unfortunately, the executive director of, the Whitefish Convention Visitors Bureau, which is the city's designated tourism entity, could come tonight, but there is data. And, that is why that says that, because we purchase data from the Visa View, which is 65% of credit card spend, and we know exactly where that card lives. So we can tell whether it's second home or visitor. And the line visitation and second homeowners was directly the result of input from the Planet Families for Responsible Growth board members who think that this part of the economy, very affluent residents and second homeowners are a big part of our economy that is not. So that's why we put that in there.
to me, that seems to speak to the increase in property value and the demand that I think is a significant factor in our local economy. And I think it's huge. And if you infer from the 43% visitation, only an additional 7% for second home ownership has an influence on our local economy, that seems to me to be very modest.
Also, we had, a statistic, which I think was, 40% of new home sales are to people who are from out of state. So that indicates second homes are a very significant part.
So
I think that's the effect of second home is something that may be difficult to study. The GSBS report missed it. They didn't do anything with that. And I wish they had.
So what is our, I mean, okay, what is our corollary? What are we saying? Do we want this in here? Do we not want this in here?
I want it in there.
Well, I'm fine with it being in there. I think we ought to add tourism.
And so, okay,
The first page says 43% of it.
okay, am I reading that everybody wants it in there conceptually? And the edit that would be offered is approximately half the Whitefish economy is driven by tourism / visitation and second home ownership. Would that be a good edit? Would that cover your issues?
Be fine.
Yeah, okay.
Fine with that.
Say that again, Frank?
Okay, it would say now, approximately half, or also, maybe we'll leave approximately half for now. Approximately half the Whitefish economy is driven by tourism / visitation and second home. Now, we can argue about approximately half, in my view. We don't know where those statistics are coming from. Is it and it's saying approximately half, it's not saying it's half, it's not saying it's 62%, it's not saying it's 20%. Approximately half. Is the failure to have specific numbers associated with that offensive?
A citation would be nice, where we reference something, you
I
know,
bet
if someone wants to look that up, that'd
I
be
bet
great.
Zach has
Yeah.
those
So-
numbers from the
So
visit.
would it suffice the group to say a very significant portion of the Whitefish economy, rather than approximately half? Would that make everybody more comfortable, including staff?
I don't think people are uncomfortable with approximately half.
Okay.
The
But
other
we
thing
can
I like
find-
about that is,
We can find a citation.
I mean, if you take tourism at 43% plus second homes and visitation, you certainly get half.
the other part of that is the next part of that sentence, it says providing the majority of businesses and jobs. So I mean, do the second homeowners provide majority of businesses
Yeah.
and jobs? It's
In
all the same
combination with
sentence,
all the
and that's the
others, yeah.
issue that we had with it, was it doesn't cite anything and then it
Okay, so
lumps it in with businesses and jobs.
what was the concern about?
We're just trying to make it factual. I think we can talk about second homeowners and how much they bring, but I just,
Okay, so
just,
let me ask you
just the
this.
way that's worded, it's problematic.
Then maybe the right question is there a request to reinsert tourism is by far the largest contributor to the Whitefish economy? You know, that whole sentence, homeowners tourism as an inclusive of that visitation, second homeowners tourism, probably should have a comma there, or and tourism, are by far the largest contributors to the Whitefish economy. Instead,
Yeah, have a period there, and then we could talk about the business and jobs being related to it.
I would just like to say, as a member of the public, I'm feeling, a little bit unfair that there's basically a second board member sitting back here and no one else is being recognized.
if you've got something to say, Nathan, please chime in.
No, it's fine. I just think it's unfair and I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, Go ahead.
I think
I'm choosing not to interject, even though I had a lot to say, but I just think it's unfair.
Asking if there is data and what the actual contribution is an area that I have expertise in.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm offering it, is because you're asking.
Mhm.
It is not by far the largest contributor to the economy. It's about half.
Mhm.
Saying by far the largest merely represents
okay.
the impact.
So would it be fair to, or a better way to say it, approximately half of the Whitefish economy is driven by visitation, second homeowners, and tourism. Strike is by far the largest contributor, because we've already said it's approximately half. Does that satisfy it? Is that, and providing, and they provide, or,
This provides,
What is it?
Yeah.
Approximately half of the Whitefish economy is driven by tourism.
well, you can do it either way, Alan. Approximately half the Whitefish economy is driven by visitation, comma, second homeowners, comma, and tourism.
period.
And tourism. Delete or not reinsert is by far the largest contributor to the Whitefish economy. And just say, and then pick up again, providing the majority of businesses and jobs and bringing nearly yappity into the city.
Mhm.
That's probably accurate.
That's just, our question was, how does the second homeowner provide a majority of jobs? And
They don't.
They don't,
And that's not.
it doesn't say that.
Well, it does say
It
that.
says
It's
one,
lumping
two,
that
and
in.
three.
It's all the same sentence.
So
Providing the majority. of
tourism,
jobs.
visitation, and second homeowners. One, two,
Providing
and
the
three,
majority.
they
Comma.
add
Whatever they
together
come.
to supply a
I just
majority.
think we have to somehow separate that out of that sentence, just,
Well,
I don't mean, maybe they do, with all on their lawns and building their houses.
no, maybe we're missing something here. Grammatically, what I'm saying is the collective of visitation, second homeowners, and tourism provide approximately half of the Whitefish economy and provide the majority of businesses and jobs, bringing nearly what it is to the bit. So the collective represents approximately half the Whitefish economy. The collective provides the majority of businesses and jobs and bringing nearly, is that fair to say?
It could be, but I just don't know how necessarily the second homeowners tie into the job situation. It's implying that all three of those things are and it could be the collective, but where does the second homeowners fit into bringing the majority of business and jobs?
So
What part that we,
if Zach
needed a second
Anderson
sentence or rewritten in a way or something, or.
Or it's just strike second homeowners, is that what you
No.
want?
Well, I think if we
No,
can
it's a
talk about
significant part.
second homeowners and their impact on the economy, I just don't
Okay.
necessarily think
Is it,
that they are bringing in the majority of business and
Okay.
jobs, so, or that's.
maybe a better way to put it, David, would be just set and drop homeowners. And we say approximately half of the Whitefish economy is driven by visitation, second homes, and tourism. Because those second homes
That's
are
it.
construction jobs, they're renovation jobs,
That makes a lot of sense.
and all the money that people in those houses bring. I think that would be, are you more comfortable with
However
that?
you guys wanna do it, I just,
Man,
that was just one of the issues that we had with that sentence, and it wasn't necessarily what's in the sentence, it's just how it's worded, because, I mean, technically, we don't have any specific data about how many jobs that second homeowners bring into the community. Are they providing half the economy? If you're lumping them together, it sounds like those three things together. I think that's a separate issue, is what second homeowners bring to the community. Maybe it has to be addressed in a second sentence. That's just,
So what you're saying, I'm not sure I agree with you, but what you're saying, I hear, is that under that analysis, we need to break out visitation, we need to break out second homes, and then we need to break out tourism.
or you could just put a period at the end of that, and then you could just say, visitation provides the majority of businesses and jobs, bringing in 200 million a year. If it's technically visitors that bring in that. Or
we're not separating visitors and tourists. Those are the same, one and the
Right.
same, right? So we don't need to say visitors and tourism.
Make the
They're
problem,
exactly the same.
the data, the source of the data, the citation. I think it might be available online. I don't know. These comments were submitted with citations to the source.
I guess Again.
But
You guys can put in there whatever you want. I was just trying to explain
Yeah,
stuff.
no, I hear you, David, I hear you.
Just because we want to make sure everything's factual and ties into
Yeah, no,
something.
So we need to ask Zach Anderson for data on that from the Visitors Bureau. So we can adopt this,
Right,
saying second homes, and
put an asterisk.
that's fine, and then asterisk to find the
Citation.
exact number for citation from the Visitors Bureau.
Yeah.
Okay,
Frank, you want to state your motion?
I
Yeah,
think Alan wrote it a few times, so yes, state it.
Well, no,
Changed it.
okay.
Well, I have it.
Well,
I think it says approximately half of the Whitefish economy is driven by tourism, comma, visitation, comma, and second homes. Striking, period, or
Or
no,
put an
comma,
asterisk.
providing.
Majority of business, okay, yappity, and then put an asterisk at the end of,
2030.
2034,
20,
or whatever,
24,
or
yeah.
20, is it supposed to be
2024.
24.
24? And then put the asterisk there based on statistics from the Convention of Business Bureau.
So someone will send me that then?
Yes.
That's my motion.
Second.
Seconded. Okay, everyone in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Okay, passes unanimously.
Great.
All right, so I went back for that.
I motion on the next chapter, on below the have chosen to commute. There is a sentence that says, due to factors such as restrictive zoning has been stricken out, high lease rates downtown has been stricken out, and leading to a deficit of locally available essential goods and services that residents rely on. I would like to unstrike all the things that I just said. I don't even need Sky out of there. And the reason I say that is it sounds like, Alan, did this come from the economic development study with the stakeholders? Is that where this information?
This came from GSBS, this came from the stakeholder notes, which I included with you. This has come from the 2007 growth policy and from the visioning sessions.
Okay, so I feel like that it's really important that we keep that in there. I think that we have acknowledged that it's really limited where we are allowed to have businesses in Whitefish of certain types, and that is restrictive zoning. That is just what it is. High lease rates in downtown do prevent many people who do not have higher levels of finances to getting into business in downtown Whitefish, just a reality. And this all compounds to leading a deficit of locally available essential goods and services that residents rely on, in part because of our restrictive zoning. We don't allow box stores. We hear that, you know, residents don't want box stores, but the reality is there are a lot of people that can't afford to get goods and services in Whitefish, and they have to leave the town. And so this is important because this shows what is happening currently.
Is there a second?
No second, motion fails for lack of second.
Great.
Okay. Compatible with, everybody okay with that? Okay, page 4. Go ahead.
Point of order.
Yes.
And I thought we had, one point, thought we had discussed, and maybe it was a prior sentence, like this concept of, in the first sentence, many Whitefishers are employed, not yappity, or have chosen to.
We took
We
that.
struck those, we struck that. We struck it.
Oh, that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
that.
We did that and then jumped back up and now we're back down.
Yeah, good,
So,
okay.
all right. So moving on to page 4, the first changes begin on contribution of tourism. And this is all directly from an email from Zach at the Visitors Bureau on May 8th. It was in so this whole section that's changed is all from that email from him.
But this, is this
I'll
language,
just add that.
is this language different from what you guys agreed to or directed earlier?
Well, so all the. I don't think we can test the accuracy of statistics or the facts here.
Right?
It's all the red text is just new language about the benefits toward it.
Okay.
So that's it, right? We're not contesting whether it's correct or not. I'm not. I don't think any of this is not.
That was not my question is this,
I think we did approve this, but.
this is
Yeah,
approved,
this
so
is-
we're done. If anybody's got.
So, we're not contesting.
Yeah, okay, so we can move on.
Whether any of this is correct.
Can I just offer a quick suggestion?
Yes.
When all this was struck, there were references that are struck, and I don't know if there are references that can be replaced.
They were replaced and it's in, I'm just, yeah, so they can be, and it's in an attachment that's Zach's
It's posted
attachment
on-
from a May 8th
Yeah,
email.
Zach, most of this I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
Most of this text was written directly by, Zach
Mhm.
from Explore Whitefish.
Mhm.
And he did give me an email with his statistics.
Let me recharacterize that.
Okay.
This text was recommended by and provided by Zach.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Brian
this
Scott.
was included into the version, the revised version that you received.
Right.
And this was, my understanding was a contribution of Zach to the final document that you got and approved. Right.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I move that we direct the staff to insert the references from Zach's original.
They're there, I thought.
I'll see what's in there. And if it's in there, I'll put it in there.
And if we're gonna
Okay.
email him for statistics
We're
on
doing that by
second home,
agreement, not
we
by
can
motion.
ask
I,
for.
I'm not gonna come with references that I don't have, so.
No, right, no.
Right,
If there is,
all you've gotta do is look at Zach's email.
This one. There was a separate email he wrote me, but this was put in here, so whatever is in his email, if there's some references in there, sure. I put them in there, if they're not, then I, you know,
Right.
I don't know if I can do all the research to kind of.
Insert the references that have been supplied.
Motion made and seconded.
Okay.
Insert. Everybody in favor of inserting references we have?
To the extent,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. So that the part of this that I found from public comment that has not been changed in this draft, so there was a back and forth. Last time we said take out Daniel Sitter because he didn't want his name. But then, in the public comments, this was to you on the 29th. Alan. Zach wrote how to correct what. Yeah, so,
$800, that it was, the per person rent is not. The argument was that
Yeah.
whoever took this number, just divided it by two or whatever, and the argument was not every house has three people that are paying rent, it could be one person paying for the
Yeah.
family.
so that's where Zach and Daniel, this is in the public comment. Cause I knew this 800 was an issue. And there's an email that says incorrect sentence that starts according to. On the very bottom of page 6. And. I can just pass you this email or you can cut and paste.
So
If
so
you
the
want.
yellow is what we need to
Yeah,
add in.
That's the
That's
one,
what-
Eliminate the orange and put in the yellow.
this
is that
is,
the one from Daniel Whitney?
this one's from Zach and Daniel is CC'd, but you may have one. I think I saw
think I
one
made a
from Daniel.
mistake, and
Yeah, so I just noticed that it's.
And he had
different still
recommended
here.
language in there.
Yeah, so he has correct information. As of October 2024, the program was providing an average monthly rental assistant payment of $316 for those enrolled,
316.
$316 for those enrolled, period. Those people were paying an average of $1,657 a month for rent on an average household income of $46,523. Do you want me to pass this to you?
I have that.
Okay.
If you want me to add that in there, I'll put that in there.
Well, they just requested it was corrected, and I know that people had issue with the 800, so that's the language that they provided to replace.
I'm just gonna get a note there.
Thanks.
Bottom of this.
Bottom 6, top 7.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll just make a placeholder here to do that.
That, does everybody agree that that's what we want? to do?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say just adopt Daniel's preferred language.
That's how it is. Okay.
we took his
So
name out.
right now, I just put a note to myself to say,
Okay,
because I have that.
that's good.
Good.
Thank you, Mary.
I would like to motion to, unstrike at the bottom of page 6, according to a report from GSBS Consulting, 76% of workers employed in Whitefish do not live in Whitefish. I think that's a really important factual point that needs to be made in this document because it highlights the gap in those who serve our community not living there.
I'll second that.
I'm sorry, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, bottom of page 6, according to a report from GSB Consulting, 76% of workers employed in Whitefish do not live in Whitefish. I'm asking for that. Yeah, sure.
That number does appear on the front of the cover page too.
Oh, got it. Okay.
And those were inconsistent. We looked at that. I agree with you. That's a change that we should make.
So it was just, we're reading the recent efforts by Housing Whitefish. It's just above that.
Oh, boy.
So is that like a different document?
This is what we,
Oh, there it is. Got
Okay,
it.
so that.
I just couldn't find it.
No, I think what John's looking at is different.
I know.
Page numbers.
Somewhere.
John, I can show you right here.
All right. I guess the,
It's just right there. The bottom.
so the tourism related impact, okay, yeah. I hadn't gone far enough.
for purposes of, I'm gonna second the
Okay,
Actually, I already did.
Yeah.
all right. So Toby, if you can hear us, we're voting on adding the 76% back in. Okay, everyone in
So,
favor?
It's just one sentence or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just right here, according to a report from GSBS Consulting, 76% of workers employed on Whitefish do not live in Whitefish.
Oh,
So I'm just
okay,
asking that, yeah, so.
I can go for that.
Okay, yeah, and it's still big on the front, so it should be in the body.
So
Thanks, Mallory.
Motion passes.
that passes 6-0,
Yes.
Yes.
okay.
All right. So we're, I think, gonna move on to page 7.
Seven and that all read down to 8, I think are all part of that back in Brian's shot.
Yeah,
I
so too.
don't have any problem with any of that language.
No,
Alan, or is that okay with you?
With what part?
page 7 and 8 are all
Yeah.
what Zach and Brian
Yeah,
shot
7 and halfway down 8.
submitted.
You don't mind honest opinion, or you want me to disagree with you?
Oh, I hope it's both.
Well, yeah.
I mean, there was multiple different resources that talked about some of the impacts being, okay, so the GSBS report did not say that one of the major, that short-term rentals were a major impact to the economy, listed as the highest impact. It did say that some of the bigger impacts were additional summer traffic, the wide seasonal fluctuations, difficulty protecting net resources, which is actually in the 2007 growth policy as well. Although short-term rentals do have an impact, they were not listed in the economic development report as being the highest impact. And that's where it reads here. So you can do with that as you wish.
I would trust
So they struck,
city people more than GSB.
so they did strike all of the stuff from the previous growth policy that talks about additional summer traffic, fluctuations in businesses, difficulty protecting natural resources are one of the impacts that comes from tourism.
Yeah, I would say also that we have local experts who, well, Rhonda, for example, has a degree in economics and so does Chris. And lots of experience and Zach Anderson is an expert. So I think we should trust the locals.
And if I'm not mistaken, Brian Schott advises the city on matters like this. So if you aren't, if you don't see any glaring errors in that,
I'm just a little struggling with why we would strike, the other impacts.
so where was
There,
that?
again, they were written in our 2007 growth policy by a local. They were mentioned by the stakeholders and they were mentioned in the vision. It's in the first paragraph, other commonly cited impacts. But include I think yada, yada, yada is Frank's terminology. Which impact additional summer traffic, the wide seasonal fluctuations in business employment, and the difficulty protecting the natural resources and character of straw residents and visitors to the area. That was such an important statement that the growth policy, the previous growth policy has an objective.
I'm sorry,
to
I'm
look
not,
at that.
I'm not,
Yeah,
Top of page 7.
First paragraph of page 7.
First paragraph, top of page 7.
I see it, thank you.
Under tourism-related
Other
impacts.
First paragraph, other commonly cited impacts. Include the rise in second and third home purchases, proliferation of short-term rentals, which impact local, okay, I don't care about that. Okay, additional summer traffic, that was mentioned a lot in the visioning. The wide seasonal fluctuations in business employment, that was mentioned by the 18 stakeholders and the notes that I gave you. And then the difficulty protecting natural resources and character and residents that draws residents to visit area, that was mentioned in the 2007 growth policy and by the stakeholders. So those are, I just hate to strike those because those have been mentioned a few different places. So
I'll make a motion to add that.
it's again, it's just the thing about not being accurate, not painting the full picture is all.
That begins with the
Additional
trend
summer
which impact local hospitality businesses and ends with visitors to the area. Is that,
I don't care about the.
I didn't follow, sorry, I
The
need,
permanent parentheses I don't care about, which impact, you can put in, which impact local hospitality residential areas in the housing market, I don't care so much about that
I
personally.
think besides specifically the short-term rentals, which could be added to that bottom sentence. That's
But
in
I
there.
do think it's important that those other things are impacts that have been mentioned and are important, and we are trying to address those in some other sections, like environment.
so can you just state
Yeah.
the language?
Okay, so my,
Just saying that that stuff in the paragraph, or the parentheses at the beginning is added in at the bottom, so it
it's after
doesn't need to be
short-term
included
rental.
twice.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Short-term Rentals have
sure.
local hospitality.
where it says additional summer
here we
traffic.
have tourism-related.
Additional summer traffic, the wide seasonal fluctuations in business employment, and the difficulty protecting the natural resource and character which draw residents to the area.
It is here.
My recommendation would be to put that back in.
Okay, so do not include the language that's in the parentheses.
It's not necessary because
It's already-
the edits already kind of addressed it.
But
Okay.
isn't all of that said again under, in the next sentence, short-term rentals have a range of effects. They impact local hospitality businesses.
Yeah, I'm talking about the summer traffic, the fluctuations in business, difficulty protecting
Increase.
natural resources.
Yeah, increase in summer traffic and reduce market share for hotels. So
That's specific.
you want,
Short-term rental, the other ones.
Correct.
Back here.
So those, those are impacts that have been long
Other
noted from tourism,
Okay,
But that's in
traffic. People loving it to death, natural resources, and
So,
fluctuations in business.
We didn't strike.
so is there, what I'm hearing is Scott is proffering a motion to reinsert the statement starts additional summer traffic, the wide seasonal fluctuations in businesses and employment, and the difficulty protecting the natural resources and character which draw residents and visitors to the area.
Correct.
That's the motion to put that back in.
okay,
That would be
Okay.
my suggestion.
I have
Okay.
a point of order. Or whatever it is. This paragraph starting, other commonly cited impacts of tourism include, that was adopted in May. It was not stricken.
Other commonly cited impacts of tourism.
Right, I'm not suggesting that.
Relating to tourism, so
I'm
this.
suggesting what's deleted.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, so we're not changing any of this right here. What we're changing is right here below. So it had been stricken, this whole portion.
that looks just grammatical at the top, the first sentence.
You have STRs here.
It should be. I, I have a paragraph which begins other commonly cited impacts. Right there.
Yeah, so then you go down and right here,
But there's nothing stricken
can I
for
see?
10 or 15, 20 lines.
So
This may be a
right here,
difference.
so if you'll see, you printed it out as this has already been stricken, right? So you're seeing your document here.
And this is what we adopted in May.
No, I know, and so we're.
This was
this is-
subsequent.
No, so this is showing what was there before. Does that make sense? So
Hey, John?
the original document, if you wanna,
Okay, but
That's the original document.
yeah, I have the original document right here.
right, so your original document is showing, is
So-
not showing the stuff that was written there before. This is how they wrote it, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
But
so,
this is an addition. It's not striking anything.
but this has been stricken.
By
So
whom?
you guys struck that last time.
Mm.
Not in May. No, we adopted this.
I know, and if you'll see, you adopted this and it doesn't include that stricken part. So that's what I'm saying, is that this area has already been stricken. So if you look at right
Oh,
here,
so now we're just putting it back. Okay. It
we're
doesn't-
having that discussion, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I don't know
I
though.
still don't-
I'm also,
that's-
I'm having some questions also about this.
Are you?
Yeah, so this May 21st, all of this was stricken. Is that what you're looking at, John?
This is all underscored. That means it was added.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little stricken down here, but.
Yeah. This is where it gets tricky, because these two somehow in the moving from here to here, which I know is not fun, this has changed. Okay. Yeah, this just all looks different from this to this, but I mean, if we can all concur on this new document that we're looking at now, then we're okay, even if there's differences from one to the next.
I can. I
Yeah.
can. I think that,
So I'm going off of the document that was in the packet.
Mm-hmm.
And that document, is called, Economic Development Element HOH revisions August 2025. That's the most recent version with all the red mark changes that you approved in May.
Mm-hmm. And I printed that this
So
morning.
it sounds like that's what you have, and
Yes,
maybe John might have an earlier version.
No, I have
Well,
what we passed,
that's
May
what I'm-
21st.
I'm looking at what
So,
we passed on May
Seems to me there's
21st.
an error in the more recent one,
Yeah,
but is that significant? Does it matter?
You guys are
This
looking up.
is the same thing.
That you have right here, and you concur on,
right,
you're fine.
okay,
so, I don't know.
And so this is what we're talking about right here, is adding additional actually, someone else should summarize it, because I kind of got distracted.
What,
This one should talk about summer traffic.
Yep.
There it is. It's, we approved, including that language, and somehow it got stricken
right,
according to
what
here.
we're doing now, John, is putting it back.
Yeah, okay.
It was
Fine,
stricken.
because we approved it.
Okay,
Correct.
so,
Are you clear what the motion is now? Cause I am.
Well, I'm hoping what it is to unstrike.
Do you have a second?
I'm looking at the version, the PDF version that went to you guys, and that stuff was stricken. So my understanding is the motion is to unstrike the traffic, seasonal fluctuations, and natural resources withdrawal, to not strike that, to put that back in. That's
Okay.
my understanding.
That's my motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second. Yeah, okay, everyone in favor of putting that back in?
Yes.
All right, motion passes. That's back in. Okay. Just, all right, so I'm confused from this document to this one, but we can look just at this one. But it's different, but that's, yeah, confusing me. So any further questions about this page 7
No,
from anyone? Okay, page 8. Additions from the Visitor Bureau again. Okay, page 9, we've already looked at, and, can we have a motion to accept the way that Alan has revised it here? We talked about it at the beginning of this whole ordeal,
It would be the first paragraph in commercial.
commercial areas in Whitefish. Okay. So,
We'll double check that to make sure it's all accurate on the numbers, everything,
Okay.
east versus
Yeah.
west, I think people got confused,
mhm,
east Second Street versus west Second Street,
okay,
so.
and I actually crossed out East Second Street and wrote in Spokane
Yeah.
above that.
and then
Where's
we'll
Wonder
see
Land?
this
See,
again.
sure, I can double check all that.
Okay,
Okay, so page 10,
okay, so we're
So-
comfortable, I'm comfortable with the way it's.
the way it is, and then however you guys.
I might just check to make sure I have 93 versus Spokane or Spokane versus 93.
Yeah.
Okay,
Or east versus west.
Yeah, sure.
all right. Okay, so all in favor of the way it is now with any corrections that need to be made, and we'll see those next time in red. Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Page 10, the first thing, availability of locally needed goods and services. Anybody have comments on these things? I'm fine with all of this. Okay. Hearing none, page 11. Here we have, anybody have a motion on page 11?
I mean, I will just make a note for public record that, and I know what you guys are gonna say, so it's not even worth arguing about it at this point. Down below the impacts of agriculture on the Whitefish economy, I motion to bring to strike further evaluating city commercial zoning districts. And someone wants to second it, they can.
So you're under impact
So above impact of
or
agriculture,
above it?
Yeah.
Okay.
that paragraph right above it.
Further evaluate city commercial zoning districts.
Well, the plan does that anyway.
I'm not following, what are you suggesting?
I'm saying, so right here, it's stricken out, right here, further evaluating city commercial zoning.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying, okay,
So I'm just saying, put it back in.
okay.
Any second on that? Okay, hearing none. Anything else on page 11? All right. 12 looks good unless somebody has seen something new. 13. No edits that we know of. 14.
I
Okay.
motion to bring back lack of affordable restaurant establishment, local restaurants, hyper specific zoning. Again, same thing as last time. I know what you guys are gonna say, but.
So this says, economic leases and constraints, including a lack of economic diversity, we leave that. And then the lack of affordable restaurant establishments for local residents, hyper specific zoning. That's what you want to put back in there? Okay.
Is there a second? Okay, that deletion will stay.
And then, oh, I guess it's all in the same paragraph, and add back a couple sentences below that. It says, communities and manufacturers and businesses leaving due to cost of land is stricken out.
The only concern I had about that was, I don't think people are leaving because of the cost of land. I think that the cost of land is a barrier to coming here, was my read of that.
Oh, so you don't think businesses are leaving and buying places in other places because the land? Cause like I know that Runner Up Sports decided to buy land or buy property in Columbia Falls because it was too expensive in Whitefish and there wasn't affordable option.
Didn't their business
And they also
got
got
sold?
booted out.
Yeah, they got booted out.
But they also showed, it sounded like they had like an offer to stay a while and there was an option to buy affordable commercial downtown Columbia Falls. And so we lost a business because the cost, like there are just downtown businesses for sale right now. And they chose to move to Columbia Falls where the cost of commercial real estate is less expensive. So that is kind of like my note, like when I look at it, those are the things, right? There are, maybe it's not happening a lot, and manufacturers, right? I don't know that that's happening specifically, but businesses are likely leaving because the cost to purchase property and land.
Yeah, I like
But if
that.
they are existing businesses,
example.
they are either under lease or they own the land. We talked about leases elsewhere. So they wouldn't leave because the cost of the land that they already own is
But
too
when
high.
leases come up and business and buildings get sold, if there's not affordable costs of land in town, they leave.
What about due to lack of affordable lease or commercial
Didn't they
space?
say that with regard to leases? I'm not
I
sure.
mean, leaving due to lack of affordable lease or commercial space? Yeah, go ahead.
Just because the format is bad, so I want to make sure that you guys see the heading on this, because like these bullet points are all about the consultant's report. So that's on the page before that. So just keeping in mind if you're.
Oh,
changing
this is
language
coming
or
from
removing
data.
things or adding things, because they're, my understanding, reading it now, I think the current was some stuff that the consultant said in the report, summarization staff.
Yeah,
That's correct. But you can also, again, if you look in the letters that I provided stakeholders comments, you'll see the business owners also said these things.
I'm not terribly wedded either way. I just didn't seem to make sense to me, but I'm not,
Again, the way I'm reading it, Scott, is it's one element of why they might be the cost of land, unattainable housing and low employment for employee pool. Okay, that's, I think, it's a collective.
did you make a motion to add in back cost of land?
Yeah.
I'll second that motion. Sure.
but it's included with a different motion, so technically we should have two separate motions.
No, I already did that. This
Yeah.
is the second motion.
The
You're
first
right,
motion
you're
failed
right.
for a second.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
So seconded, everyone in favor of adding back in cost of land, raise your hand. Okay, so
No.
4, okay. I didn't vote yes, but that's fine. All right,
Would you?
so I would not, no. And Nathan, I totally understand you saying this is coming from the, listed as coming from the, consultant's report. And so we should keep that in mind. I think there's a lot of things in the consultant's report that have already been stricken or, like moved around. So with that in mind, we have kind of cherry picked and left out things. Some things have been disproven from the consultant report. So I don't want to gloss over you saying that. I totally get it. They did provide a report and we've looked at it and taken some, and some of it said, no, we're not a mining community. So thanks. Okay, anything else on this bullet point list that we wanna, on page 14, that we wanna look at? Okay,
We really quickly, did we change the thing about the gallery or like the types of business?
Yeah.
So do we need to Do we need
Several
to have it
It
match
reads-
this, or does it?
Well, no, this
No,
one's,
it's very general now, so it doesn't.
this one's eliminated, created a
Yeah,
statement.
okay, perfect.
Defined it.
Just wanna make sure it's cohesive.
But yeah, all the goals and policies should tie back to some kind of narrative in text, and that's where this has come. That goal that you guys put back in there, it's tied into this recommendation from the consultant in the report, which says considering regulatory changes to ensure that downtown is not dominated by one particular type of business. But we try to have everywhere there's something in the goals and policies, it ties somewhere in the narrative. And that's one of the only places that's mentioned is when we're going through what the report told us. So if there's something, if you remove that goal and objective, then it's okay to remove it out of the narrative. But if you kept that one in there, which you did on the look at evaluate different businesses, it probably should be somewhere in the narrative because you don't talk about it anywhere
Right,
else.
so we should make the same change.
Mhm.
Although
Considering,
the motion is to reinstate, whatever. The
Consider-
statement that says considering regulatory changes.
Yeah.
Just reinsert it.
Just to be consistent with the goal.
Yeah, did we
Yeah.
keep jewelry stores and art galleries?
Yeah,
We,
no.
I think
no,
we should take
That-
just strike that,
Strike the parenthetical.
put the period after the end of business.
we said increase diversity of
The second
business
page?
types
Good point,
for
Dave.
year round. I just want to read what we said on that so that we can say the same thing and not be. Because consider regulatory changes.
How you frame it.
Consider as possible
Community.
programs for the downtown area that can evaluate and determine an increase of diversity of year-round local serving businesses.
I'm fine with keeping it without the parenthetical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody in favor of that motion to reinsert without the parenthetical? Okay, motion passes. Scott says yes too. Right,
What did I just do? Did I vote for or against something?
you're buying pizza for tomorrow.
It was a good thing.
I'm sorry, I was reading. Okay,
All right.
I'll take Toby's word for
You did the right thing.
it. Okay.
So this takes us to the summary, which there was no issue, and then we're back to goals and objectives. So there's that.
I
All
do
right.
like that we added back in pursue all feasible alternatives to provide affordable housing.
Mhm.
Now, I have a question.
Go ahead.
With the assorted revisions of reinstating and not reinstating and whatever, what's the next version gonna look like? Is there gonna be red with strike through,
Will be a clean
underlines,
version.
or green, or
Well,
how are we gonna know what was kept and what was changed and?
I have. So, I mean, what I've been doing is keeping whatever the most recent version is, I leave the red marks after you guys are done. What you're seeing right now is the most recent version. I entered back in and unread marked the stuff that you undeleted, and I add the stuff that you added. So what's on this board right now is what I've been doing in real time, and this is what I'm gonna post on the website.
Oh,
If people need to be able to see what's changed, what's new. Now, if you wanna see.
Color though, on revisions are versus the old revisions and that.
I get, you know,
I think that's the only way to differentiate between previous revisions and new revisions.
Yeah, I think that's important. We gotta leave tracks.
I mean, I guess I could probably make everything black and only have the new stuff. Maybe, if I can remember what it all was, I could. Yeah, if you want, sure, I can go through this and all the stuff that was previously red marked, I can take that out and just leave the stuff that was red marked tonight.
Why would,
well, I think,
I can do that,
All is black and only the only red is what we changed tonight.
sure, I can do that. I can remember going through it, what we talked about.
And this is also saved in perpetuity, so it just gets layered on. So if somebody wants to look at the history of what was done, they can figure it
Track
out.
changes.
So I'll keep this one and then I'll go through this tomorrow and I'll make everything black except for what you changed tonight.
Correct.
I do have,
And then eventually what will happen is when we go to a public hearing on this section or whatever sections, it'll be, this is how we got here, and this is the black line version of the document. So whatever goes, it seems to me. You guys have a better idea, I'm way up for it, but it seems to me that that just gets layered as one of the provisions, how we got to the ultimate black letter document that we're gonna present to the public as, are you okay with this? That makes sense? Is that?
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
I wish I would have known this when I started, because now I have to go back and compare and do it all.
Why?
Because I accepted a lot of stuff with this that now I have to go back and figure out what I accepted.
Well, unless there's some need to, I think we deal with these things as we learn.
Going
We
forward,
learn
yeah.
in terms of how people evaluate it and see it. So I would say, don't redo everything you've ever done. Let's just make that our, and this is
So I'm moving forward then.
this is the final, where are we kind of approach to life? And that's what, so
And
I
now,
don't think you need to, myself.
you know,
Well, I'm saying, like, stuff that was red marked that we decided not to strike, I unred marked it and it turned to black, so now I have to go through and find everything and re-put it back in.
Yeah, no,
Just
that
what it was
was,
at.
that's pain in the ass, I'm sorry. But yeah, that's probably right.
When I'm dealing with documents, right, and I'm updating, stuff working like that. I have the initial one, which is the name. And then the next one, when I've changed a few things, few lines, I put V2.
Well, that's what I've done.
Right.
And then as it proceeds on until finally, when I'm looking in my folder, I see version 1, 2, or, version, and then version 2, 3, 4, 5. I know that the last one is it. And then when it's finally approved, I'll maybe put final. Out next to it. So
Is it possible to have all the versions have dates on them?
I'm
Because that really tells us
going
something.
to now.
Okay.
So,
so
I mean, you don't see them, the files that I have are named that. I haven't been writing them on the top of the files, but I have in my final names, they're called that, like May, August 20th. So I've been doing that,
all right.
all right.
but I haven't been
so-
marking them on top.
So, just one final point quickly.
Mhm.
John and Whitney, I think, noticed that there were perhaps some differences in that draft.
Mhm.
I thought I saw some too, but I wasn't sure. So maybe if we could talk about that, and if there is anything that we notice, we can
Mhm.
tell Alan about that.
Yeah, and I called him
I
today.
mean, my understanding is the only difference, because I went through these line by line and transcribed. Again, I wouldn't have done that, except I didn't have a Word document. I had a Word
Right.
document created from a PDF. So I had to go in and like artificially red mark everything. This is a lot of work. The only thing that I know that changes is that description in the commercial areas. Everything else was exactly the same. I just had some question about that, so I changed it the way I thought was logical. It wasn't like
Mhm.
writing anybody. I
Oh,
was
that's
trying to change what seemed to be the logical way to do it.
So then just leave it in red if there's any.
So I will go to this one and I'll only have the stuff in red that was added or changed tonight.
I think that, just for clarity, for our next, the hazards thing, we need to make sure that we're all working off the same document. Because
Yeah.
I think John's problem tonight was the fact that I don't know how he downloads them, but he downloads them in a different configuration. So if we say we're going to page 7, we're all looking at the same, on page 7, we gotta make
Right,
sure.
I was on the document that we adopted in May, and there's a.
That's what I'm saying, is we need to.
And that was in the packet, and I'll admit, I didn't get the packet.
whatever I
It
put in the
wasn't in the
packet-
common email system. I didn't get an email regarding packet.
Yeah, we'll
So
we'll work
how
on
did you all get the new one? Was that
It's
was today?
a link in the agenda that takes you to the staff packet. So on like
Really?
Monday or Tuesday next week, we'll get together and
I
get all of
missed
that.
Yeah, whatever I'm
There
gonna
should-
discuss is gonna be in the staff thing.
And this won't have any changes from like this won't have any changes from like today to cause it's as it is now. So whatever, hazards.
The hazards,
So- Hazards is what it is today and will be next week.
I'll put the hazard section that you got includes the red marks that have happened since you got it and made it
The last
at the
time.
public meeting.
Okay,
Yeah, it does.
That's in that castle.
Okay.
Unless you want it to be black, but I'd like to show you guys what you changed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we
the
like to see
blue
changes.
on the agenda is the link to the packet?
Yeah.
I didn't know
There
that.
you go. And you can go through the engaged.
And the planning board packets, so yeah, every single community development packet, the links in the agenda go to the packet, so you can read what we're talking about.
Yeah, the link on the, planning board part is, has
It's all in the
the
agenda.
number, the WZ or something, 40, whatever.
Mhm.
Everything
And
needs to
then
be
that,
blue.
that link goes, but I didn't know that this did.
Yeah,
Oh, well.
we can,
Anytime you see something that's blue and underlined, you click on it, it will take you somewhere.
not every time.
Well,
Some-
Sometimes I'm gonna tell you.
404 forbidden, prohibited.
Say that again. Oh, general public comment. Yeah,
No, what-
we had that usually, and I do not see it here. Do you, two public members have general public comment? Okay, Rhonda, go ahead.
Hope not.
I have the May 21st copy, because it was adopted,
Mm-hmm.
and the current copy.
Yes.
Was a link on the agenda. And on the May 21st one, in the goals and objectives, there's a goal 6, which says,
Oh, yeah.
"A plan that has been adopted by the city of Whitefish shall be, by adoption, become a part of this growth policy." But I
So
don't see that in tonight.
it's not, and I chose just not to talk about that because we've said in multiple different sections that that will either be in every section or it will be in the beginning of the whole growth policy.
Where it is.
Yeah, because we said if it's not in every one,
Oh,
it
yeah.
has to be in every one or it has to be at the beginning. So that's something that will either be throughout at the bottom or not throughout at the bottom and at the top, incorporating everything. So that's kind of like next draft.
So that
When you
should
see
be
it.
marked as deleted from the adopted.
Yeah, we didn't vote on it.
Rather than process.
It just was not there. So we did not, but yeah, so we'll either see that everywhere or nowhere,
So can-
but the beginning. But yeah, every change from one draft to the next should be and will be in red going forward so that it's apparent this is different from this document to the next one. So yeah, should be able to track any changes, decisions that we've made going forward. All right, so we kind of talked about matters from the board. We'll meet on the 27th. For hazards, we meet tomorrow, obviously, for a regular meeting. Is Becky gonna be here tomorrow, do you think?
Rebecca will.
Rebecca, okay, great. Any other matters from the board generally? Okay, and then, did you guys want to tell us anything about this CZP?
Oh,
The consultant that maybe,
All I can tell you is that I'm
maybe,
way excited.
okay,
I mean, I think these guys are great. I was part of the interview group and in my view, they hit it out of the park. There was two others that we interviewed, 2 or 3 others. They were all good.
mhm,
I don't think we'd have missed with any of them. I thought these guys were head and shoulders above, and I think that their approach and their temperaments will work really well with this group and with the
Okay.
city.
Okay.
So,
yay, all right, motion to adjourn?
We got 12 proposals. We're gonna be having a community outreach on September 5th or
Oh, yeah.
17th. So instead of having the transportation on that agenda, we'll be talking about land use.
Yeah, transportation's getting punted. We thought we were gonna do, we have to serve the council about that. We thought transportation was been on the 15th, but we're gonna punt it until October because the land use visioning is
In
gonna.
order to stay on track with the land use portion, to be able to get all that stuff
Yes.
adopted and be able to adopt the changes by our deadline of May, we had to do land use next
Okay,
What was that date, Dave? I'm sorry, again,
September
September,
17th.
Wednesday,
It'll be your next.
And they're gonna be given an initial presentation to the council, short presentation on September 15th.
right,
So what's our role in the visioning?
We'll have to determine that.
Talking to them. We don't know yet. We're gonna have a meeting with them next week.
We haven't signed the contract yet, so when we get that contract signed, they're not gonna do anything.
That's what I'm working on right now, is just making sure that we have the scope correct with what they're doing for us. I'm looking at that and talking to them.
so that's at 6 P.M. or this meeting time?
Probably. There's a chance that we may meet with them at 5 p.m. before the visioning so that they can introduce themselves to you, talk about your role and everything, give you an hour-long sort of
Wednesday?
debriefing on the 17th, and then the public will be welcome at 6.
Okay,
So I think that's probably how that'll play out, but
So instead of a work meeting
We'll have
next month.
food
we'll have a
provided.
visioning.
for that work session, if we start at 5.
Okay,
got it. Thank you.
We just don't have the whole content set up yet, but we will soon.
I will
anybody?
not be here for that. I will hopefully try to zoom in if our flight allows it.
Zoom
I
in,
hope you can. I think you'll be really
Make
good
it-
about these guys.
make a motion to adjourn, say it.